All right. Are we good? Are we all ready to go live?
Yes.
I'm as ready as I'm going to be. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you so
hello,
much.
everybody.
Hello,
Okay.
Steve. I'm Ashish.
Hi, I'm Steve. Hi, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I read a lot of your stuff on the internet. So,
Okay, let's go live. Hi, parents. Welcome. Today we have such an amazing day today. It's Parental Alienation Awareness Day. So welcome everyone. And we're going to start off the day with this amazing panel of experts in the house. So I am so honored and I'm so grateful for all of you to be here. So I think today we're going to just be super short and just right into it. So today I'm only going to be asking 3 questions and you all know what my questions are. So we have in the house Dr. Amy Baker. She's going to represent the scientific and the clinical aspect of this. And we have Dr. Steve Lindenberg, who is going to be representing the forensic side of it. And we have attorney Ashish Joshi, who is going to be talking from the legal aspect of it. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to start with Dr. Baker. My question is, what do you see as the solutions for parental alienation from the personal level, and why has this proposed solution not worked before?
Okay, so when you say individual level, what I think about is the individual level of the targeted parent. But of course, we could be talking about other individual levels as well. And I would say, I mean, obviously I have a lot of thoughts about that because I coach targeted parents and I spend a lot of time talking with them. And the main thing that we focus on is helping them be better parents given the scenario that they find themselves in. And one of the things that I say a lot to targeted parents is if there weren't another parent in the picture who was messaging to your child that you're unsafe, unloving, and unavailable, you'd probably be a fine parent. Most people are, and most kids don't reject their parents. But in this situation where there is somebody in the equation whispering in your child's ear not to trust you or not to experience you as safe, loving, and available, the number one mistake that targeted parents make that I focus on in my coaching is they inadvertently reinforce the message that they are unsafe, that they are unloving, and that they are unavailable. And so I spend a lot of time trying to help parents navigate the situations so that they don't take the bait and inadvertently do something that creates the impression that they don't love their child. So I think really I would focus on helping parents be better parents. And, that means enhancing the attachment relationship, inviting criticism, which is something that seems very counterintuitive. Like my kid is always complaining about me. Why would I invite my child to criticize more? But actually it helps. Fostering critical thinking skills in the child, helping the child develop a sense of value in forgiveness and in compassion, which can help inoculate the kids from becoming so alienated. So really, I focus almost entirely on helping parents be better parents. Why that isn't already a given, people are taught parenting. Pretty much people parent either the way they were parented or opposite of the way that they were parented. But in general, people don't think about all of the skills and strategies and philosophy of parenting that they could be thinking about. And because of that, they aren't necessarily the best parents. And then they're stressed and triggered from being in this alienation situation. And so they end up, unfortunately, sometimes making things worse. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much, and that's such an amazing answer, so compact, and there's so much in there. I hope parents that you guys will unpack this and really take this away. I mean, this is recorded, so you can actually watch this again and rewind it, but that's a lot there. So we had people calling in from everywhere in the world. I see, everywhere in the US, and we see Canada, UK, so many places, Mexico, yes, so many places. So thank you so much, everyone, for calling in, and from Ireland, thank you. Please share, please like, and then, yeah, so I'm going to go to Dr. Lindenberg. Would you please help solve this war problem in this 2 or 3, 5 minutes?
Solve the world problem. So would you like me to speak to the personal level or the
Yes,
industry?
please. Yeah, the personal
level.
level. Yes, please.
Well, I think the personal level is that one of the problems that I see is the children are often caught up in the emotion of what's going on with the parents. So most of the parental, what happens in most of the relationships is that there's a certain level of alienation in all divorce between the children and the parents. That's just a normal type of interaction. It just happens because the divorce is so disruptive to a family unit. But in about 1 to 3% of them, they become very dysfunctional and very disruptive, and the children become weaponized as part of the dispute between the parents. So one of the parents becomes an alienator, and the other parents becomes a rejected parent. And the end result of the problem is that no matter how skilled a counselor, because there are personality disturbances between the parents, it becomes an act of child and domestic violence. And that is very difficult to solve because many counselors have no training in those areas. And so the solution, I would say, is even though those parents often are required to go to seminars by courts in many, many jurisdictions, the result is that the parents that go to those seminars, very often you're preaching to the choir because those parents have already figured out that after the situation calms down, they become effective parents and often parent without a custody evaluation at all. But those parents that don't begin to weaponize the children in their custody dispute. They often have what we call personality disorders, what lay people would call dysfunctions of personality. One becomes the alienator, the other becomes the rejected parents. The children become subjects to sometimes domestic violence, but almost always emotional abuse. And the solution would be to have, better educated, better qualified counselors to recognize the problem. Some counselors don't even recognize the problem. So there would be some counselors that have to recognize the problem and then develop interventions that actually work.
Thank you. So with Dr. Baker, who recommended for parents to pick up skills to become better parents, with Dr. Lindenberg, he's recommend you to build a good team around you, finding the right lawyers, finding the right therapists and counselors around you. Thank you. What about you, Ashish? What is your recommendation for parents? What is the solution at the personal level from the legal perspective?
Thank you, Petra. From a personal level, I would say early education and early intervention is a must. I would like to see more courts taking initiative of sending people who file for divorce on psychoeducational seminars or some sort of help that they get at the early on in the case as to how these things can completely go in the wrong way, how children can be alienated, how to contain their raw emotions and not to share inappropriate information with the children. But Petra, we lawyers also call ourselves attorneys and counselors. And the word counselor is important there. You don't have to put your litigator hat on all the time. And there have been scenarios where I get a client who seems to be unaware that certain behaviors could lead to alienation. We're so caught up in the raw emotion, the hostility, the anger of going through the divorce in the initial stages, that it helps them to get them a good coach. I often recommend that they reach out to people like Dr. Baker, for example, or other parenting coaches to understand how, if they are the ones who are engaging in those behaviors, how those behaviors could be harmful. On the other hand, if they are on the receiving end, and it's just a new case and the alienation behaviors are just starting to get worse or noticeable, then it's important that we understand them and bring to the court's attention as soon as we can. There are certain documentaries, DVDs that I like as well for educational purposes. Dr. Warshak's Welcome Home Pluto is one of them. I found it to be a helpful resource. But we need to give them the tools, especially in a case where we see early on hostility, we see contentious filing, we see motions ex parte being brought to the judge, allegations of abusive behavior. Now we gotta be careful here. I'm not saying that we ignore any allegations of abuse. If there are those made, they need to be investigated. If there is an ongoing investigation, it has to be brought to its logical conclusion. But we need to be pretty sure that if abuse is alleged, it's not a case of severe abuse or neglect. Because if those allegations are not investigated early on, they just take a life of their own for the rest of the case down the road. But I would say early psychoeducation and making the tools available for the parents would be very helpful.
Thank you. So with Ashish, his recommendation is to get early intervention and to get education. And I mean, he mentioned about Dr. Warshak resources, but I mean, Ashish also has his book that just came out called Litigating Parental Alienation. Dr. Amy Baker has a series of books, including a book for children, right? So there's a lot of resources out there. Definitely recommend parents. And I mean, there's a question in the chat room about, you know, what is the recommendation for parents that do pro se. Obviously, self-education is a big part of it. Ashish, I wanted to kind of take a side track here a little bit. I've noticed that you're wearing not a suit today. You're wearing something very special. Do you want to share with us what that is about?
Well, it's Sunday, right?
Right.
This is a traditional Indian shirt. We call it kurta. It's sort of a long shirt. And I couldn't find royal blue, but it seems indigo blue to me, but it's close to royal blue that I have. So here we go.
Thank you. Okay, so I see a lot of people are using the frames that we created for parental alienation awareness. I can see in the chat room. So thank you, parents, for using the frames. You are helping to bring awareness. So let's go to the next question. So we addressed the personal level. Let's look at the industry level. So Dr. Baker, do you want to pick it up from here? What is your recommendation for, you know, solving parental alienation at the industry level?
So I think there's 3 points I want to make. The first is ideally we would have some kind of certification program for mental health and maybe even legal professionals so that targeted parents can find bona fide experts and specialists, because at this point anybody can say they're a specialist in alienation and that doesn't really have any meaning. And I think a lot of targeted parents end up with somebody who isn't really helping them. So that's my first idea. And kind of related to that is I would love to see some kind of standard of care for reunification therapies, specifically the kind of low-level routine outpatient reunification. Anybody can hang out a shingle and say, I do reunification therapy as long as they're a mental health professional. And that means very, very different things to different people. I recently conducted a survey of about 100, I can't remember the exact number, of clinicians who advertise on their websites that they do reunification therapy for children and families affected by divorce. And it's pretty some shocking findings, like many of them don't even have joint sessions between the parents and child. Now, you would think as a naive targeted parent, oh, yay, I won in court. I got reunification therapy. I'm going to be reunified. Sometimes these clinicians go months and months and months, if not years, with actually no joint sessions. Also, pretty surprisingly to me, very few of them refer to intensives, you know, the parental alienation immersion programs, even though they're needed. And many of them don't even have a specific model that they're using or a framework or a theoretical guide for the work that they're doing. So I would love to see standards of care developed there. And then the third is picking up something Ashish mentioned, which is more training for the legal professionals in understanding what alienation is, and for judges in particular, why the court should intervene. A lot of times judges say, oh yeah, I know alienation is real and I get that it's happening in this case, but the kids are doing well, so why rock the boat? Or, but the kids aren't doing well, so we can't rock the boat. And I really want to see that judges understand how damaging alienation is. So those are my ideas.
Thank you so much. Those are amazing. Thank you so much. And I think it also addressed a question in the chat room that I think Catherine's asking about what happened when the situation has become entrenched, which what she just brought up about intervention, serious intervention situation there. What about you, Dr. Lindenberg? What is your thought about solution for the industry level?
Well, much of what Dr. Baker just said, I totally agree with. There are no real standards for reunification counseling. I've been appalled on many of the cases that I've worked on where the reunification counselor won't even communicate with me when I'm the court-ordered reunification counselor. So let me reframe that. I'm the court-ordered reunification counselor, and I go to the counselors of the children, and the counselor of the children won't even communicate with me on developing a strategy for integrating the counseling that they're doing with the counseling that I'm trying to do to reintegrate the family. In fact, sometimes I find that they're working at counter purposes. And then when I try to inject any authority at all, there's no accountability on their part, and the court system is not really educated enough on the types of interventions that a reunification counselor will make, because frankly the judges are not psychologists, and it's not a fault of the judges, it's a fault of the system and the industry to be able to educate the judges. So one of the things that I would remedy this would use to remedy the industry would also to be develop teams of judges, psychologists, and lay people and mental health professionals to go to continuing education together to develop strategies for helping these people. And I think that one of the things that's has been helpful to me is when I get with a judge who's really a family law oriented judge who's gone to continuing education for family education. Strike that. See, I'm sounding like an attorney. But when they go to continuing education because they're interested in family law and family dynamics, and we will have status conferences where the judge has an interest in the family, and that judge will continue to follow that family, and the judge will ask me, how can I help you? How can I help this family? That's unusual, but when it happens, it really is positive. Another thing is that I don't think that many of the people who go in and call themselves reunification counselors actually make matters worse because they take sides. They take sides. The person who is alienating or the person who is being rejected can often have personality disorders, and they can be very persuasive. And the counselor who is not aware of her own or his own needs, transferences, we call them, or counter transferences, will often complicate the treatment by taking sides. So I think that in the training of reunification counselors, they also have to refresh and look at their own needs, their own rescue fantasies, their own whatever's going on with them. And it may be from their own abandonments and own attachment disorders from their own childhoods that have not been addressed in their training and in their therapy.
Thank you so much. And I think both your advice as well as Dr. Baker's advice really resonate with the audience. We see people in the chat room. I see Tiffany agreeing with that. Bobby said, there's no guidelines, there's no training, it's a real problem. Pamela said the same thing. I see there's parent that's suffering. Mary in the chat room says 15 years of being alienated. It's really serious. Tiffany said, yeah, absolutely, they need to have training. Max also said the same thing. Catherine, thank you, you guys. Really appreciate all the comments and the participation. Thank you. And feel free to post question. I don't think we're going to be able to pick up a lot of questions, but if it's something's right on, we will. But it's a little bit harder because today we are really packed. We have a whole day, lots of a lot of things coming. So anyway, thank you so much. And then what about you, Ashish? What do you think is the solution from the industry level?
At the industry level, I'm going to talk about courts. And what needs to happen is accountability. The cases of alienation which get resolved and where it gets nipped in the bud are almost always the cases where the judge takes the initiative and hold people accountable. You know, when you have a judge who is going to immediately get on the top of violation of parenting time, when you have a judge who is going to mete out contempt citations, who is going to hold the parent responsible, who is going to hold the guardian ad litem accountable, who is going to make sure that court orders are not violated, the children don't get to run the bus. Those are the cases where we make a difference. But I'm also appalled by the fact that many lawyers who claim themselves to be alienation experts or alienation specialists will argue parental alienation vociferously and strenuously when they represent the rejected or targeted parent. But same lawyers, when the shoe is on the other foot and they represent the alienator, have absolutely no qualms of walking into the courtroom and claiming the theory is pseudoscience or junk science, and they'll bring experts from the other side of the camp to argue against the theory. And I find it appalling. I find it to be dishonest, absolutely devoid of any integrity whatsoever, and simply appalling. And not only it causes a tremendous waste of financial resources for the parent to fight a battle on whether a syndrome exists or not, or whether this theory is valid or not, but we lose time, Petra. And time is the number one enemy in these cases. So the only way to make the system change and to enforce solutions is to have accountability and hold people accountable.
That is so true. And my God, what you just talk about, it just right into the pain of so many parents in the chat room, because we have this exact problem that you said, is that you go to court, you have this court order, and then it means nothing because nobody is helping you enforcing this court order. And then you have the situation where you have false allegations, and then you go to court and then you prove that it's false. And then yet these alienators that have created these false allegations are not being held accountable. There's no punishment whatsoever. Taking all these parents, dragging them through courts for years, and in the meanwhile, the children are brainwashed and damaged, and time gone by, like you said, and the children grow up and the relationships destroyed. I really appreciate that. And so many parents in the chat room said so true, Ashish. Yeah, so many people in the chat room said this is absolutely exactly the problem. Thank you so much. So let's go to the next level higher. Now we talk about the personal level, we talk about the industry level. Let's talk about the society and the system level. So Dr. Baker, do you want to take this level and let's see what do you recommend is the solution here?
Sure. So I guess I just have a few points. The first is I would love to see all children, especially teenagers, taught how to be good parents. I think this is something that is so important. It's not taught. Nobody really teaches parents how to be loving, attentive, available. A lot of it is intuitive, but it's not all intuitive. And again, when you're in an alienation situation, it's a lot harder to be a good parent. And I would love to help. I'd like to just raise everybody's level of parenting up so that if you are in this kind of situation, you're going to have a deeper set of skills, strategies, and resources to draw on. And the second thing is I would love to see all kids whose parents are divorcing have an opportunity to participate in a children of divorce program, not the programs that already exist, which I think are basically middle of the road, no, it's not your fault, which is a fine message, but it's not really teaching kids specific strategies for staying out of their parents' conflict. What do you do when one parent tells you to keep a secret from the other parent? What do you do when one parent says, oh, if you don't go to that other parent this weekend, I'll buy you a whatever, doesn't matter what it is. Kids don't have these skills. They don't know how to stay out of the conflict. And if we could inoculate the children on a routine, large scale basis, I think that would go at least part of the way to solving this systemically. And I don't know if this is a systemic issue, but I would love to see more research on the effectiveness of different kinds of reunification therapy. It's very, very hard to get money to do that kind of research. It's very hard to find journals. There, many journals have an anti-parental alienation bias. It's hard to get this stuff published. So there are those kind of larger forces that make it hard to get that knowledge out there. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I love that solution. I mean, yeah, you're really talking about really the big solution here, building education into the next generation, the future generation, so that we have a generation that don't grow up and keep destroying the children of the future. Because really, nobody got a license, nobody got a certificate before they have children. Like, we need to have a license before we can drive, but yet anybody can have children. And then the children came without any instruction booklet, any guiding. So I think education for children on how to become parents, I think that's that's amazing suggestion. And then also teaching the children how to deal with situation when their parents are divorced. Great, thank you so much. And then you brought up something is so critical, which is the lack of resources out there for more research and support for this big problem. I think there's a lack of recognition out there. So because of the lack of recognition, we don't have the resources, and so it leads to lack of funding, as well as the misinformation out there. So it creates challenges in that. So yeah, thank you so much for that. What about you, Dr. Lindenberg? What are your thoughts on solution at the systematic level, as a society level?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I wish I had an hour. I think one of the things we have to decide that parent alienation is a diagnostic matter. It needs to be codified as a form of child abuse. I think that there's a lot of debate in the allied mental health professions as to whether or not parent alienation is a discrete diagnosis or whether or not it is just a part of the entire custody dispute, whether it's just a normal part of the custody dispute. And there's a high debate about that between elements of the allied mental health professions and even within the legal profession. I happen to believe it should be codified based on my many years of experience. I've been doing parent alienation since 1983. I've been in practice for 44 years. And because it causes short and long-term harm to children in high conflict custody disputes, results in lifelong financial expenditures for the victims and for the insurance providers indirectly, because a lot of these children carry with them forward chronic mental illness, underperformance, underachievement, lack of productivity, chronic physical and mental health issues, and early death, including suicide. So I think that that's one of the solutions, is to codify it. I think the problem is that why we're seeing more of it has a lot to do with global trends and not just local trends. I don't think this is a United States problem. I think this is a global problem. And I think it has to do with that the high conflict divorces that we're seeing is a reflection of the high conflict of society in general in the global community, that there's alienation as a tactic fomenting division, not just in marriages, but in communities and between countries. And the political alienation is on the increase with race, ethnicity, gender, between the haves and the have-nots, and the political styles of governance. So I think that it's not a surprise to me that these global levels trickle down into alienation in the family and in the community. And so these interpersonal conflicts just rise up. And then what we see, and we see this globally, but we also see this closer to home, we start seeing acute stress disorders, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, panic disorders, runaway behavior, self-injury, suicidal ideation, prolonged trauma in adulthood, including PTSD and suicide. And we lose a lot of productivity because of that. And I think that, in my clinical work as well, that when, one of the first questions that I ask is, were your parents divorced? And what was that like? And were you abused as a child? Those are two or three of the first questions I ask on interview. So that's my solution is to codify it. The problem is that what happens in the family is a reflection of what's happening in the global community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And everyone in the room is agreeing that it's a global issue. And I mean, if you're just looking at the chat room that we have right now, we have people coming from all around the world. So really, the lack of recognition, like you mentioned, there's no way for clearly like codifying it. There's a way that people can just look at it and go, here, this is the diagnostic, definition of it. That is a big problem, because then now we have all these victims that don't get recognized and don't get proper resources and proper treatment. So that's definitely the solution that we really need at the system level. Thank you so much. I wanted to mention that in the chat room, I see Octavia. I don't know if I say the name right, maybe Octavio. He or she is a filmmakers that participate in our film festival that we're going to be announcing the awards today. We have a film festival starting from today for 2 weeks that is dedicated to parental alienation. We had 614 films from all around the world that submitted to the festival. And later today in this same event, we're going to be announcing the winners of that festival. So stick around, everyone. So let's go to Ashish. What do you think? What is the solution at the system and the society level?
I'm going to slightly disagree with Amy and Steve, and I respect research immensely. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a mental health expert. So what I have to say, take it with a grain of salt. But my view is that we have tremendous amount of research on alienation available already. We have peer-reviewed literature from Dr. Baker, from Dr. Burnett, many others. It doesn't seem to matter. Detractors keep on arguing the same old arguments. They continue to be willfully blind to the available research out there. And I would say enough already. Let's have action. When you look at the decisions coming out from the European Court of Human Rights, there are clear decisions about how this is a human rights violation. This is child abuse. No judge, whether you are talking about San Francisco, Michigan, New York, or Florida, no family judge will hesitate to remove a child from a toxic environment if there is physical or sexual abuse. Severe parental alienation is no different. We need our social worker in the trenches who work for the CPS trained on this issue. We want the therapists to know and understand and train how severe alienation, brainwashing is child abuse and should be reported as such. We have cases from some courts that have held that alienation, severe parental alienation, is child psychological abuse. We don't have enough of decision from the appeals court, from the Supreme Courts, to make it binding as such. But we need more of that. We need more action. Certainly more research is helpful. Certainly we can have more peer-reviewed data about interventions. What is more effective, what is not effective. But even with what we have, the current level of inaction is just pathetic. We certainly have more research than we need to get the action from the judicial system. And unfortunately, the change is happening. It's just not happening fast enough.
That is so true. And that's the problem that a lot of parents face, is that when you look at your child that is severely affected by parental alienation, you can see the damage, but you cannot go and call anyone for help. You can call Child Protective Agency and they're not going to do anything because there's no bruises. there's no cut, there's nothing. So you don't get help because there's a lack of recognition of how serious psychological abuse can be, just as damaging as sexual abuse or physical abuse. So I agree that's such a huge problem there, and we definitely need more actions. So I really appreciate, so before we go, does any of you have any additional thought or the last thought before we go? I know that I really appreciate, I told you guys I'm only going to ask 3 questions, and I asked the 3 questions. So is there anything else? Yeah.
Well, I have 2 comments. One,
Yes.
keep up the good work. You are creating a tremendous amount of awareness, and you are putting this podcast, this webcast together that help people, that give them hope, which is a very important thing. This is my first time I've got to know Steve, so I hope to get him to know better in future, work with him hopefully sometime soon. But I've been a big fan of Dr. Baker for years. I have learned a lot from her research, from articles, and she has always been so generous on the phone to help someone like me with not having any mental health background walk through these concepts. So these are great people. I mean, Dr. Burnett, Dr. Baker, Dr. Miller, Linda Gottlieb. I mean, all of these people have tremendous research. They have seen these cases wreak havoc on families. They have testified before legislatures, judges, written, published, and we need to see some action.
I think I just wanted to comment, if I can, on the research question. So I want to be clear. I actually agree. We don't need more research on the negative effects of exposure to alienation on children or even on parents. I think that is settled at this point. But we really don't have any research on reunification therapy. What are the aspects of it that may or may not be effective? Because we don't really understand how to help repair the relationship, especially at the moderate level, especially at a outpatient level. And even the intensive reunifications like Family Bridges and Linda's program, there is scant published research. So I would like to make it, I want to remove an obvious sticking point or benefit of the other, opposing counsel can always frighten the judge. Oh, it's unknown. We don't really know how these programs work. So I want to make it easier for judges to do the right thing. The final thing I'll say is what we also need is some way to get the next generation of lawyers and psychologists and, all the people who are out there helping parents. We sort of have this elite group of half a dozen or a dozen people, but we don't really have any mechanism for bringing up, for nurturing those next generations, which we're going to need.
Thank you. Yeah.
I would just add that I feel privileged to be on the same panel with Yoshi and Dr. Baker, and I wanted to thank you for pulling this panel together and inviting me to be on. I'm kind of a novice compared to the 2 experts that you have with you. And I agree with both of them. I think I would encourage you and your work, and hopefully out of your work, you can develop an institute that will begin to blaze a path for setting standards and a curriculum and the standards for training, and that you can share with academics, that can be researched and piloted and developed for the training of reunification counselors and all who have to address the needs of distressed families who are going through parent alienation. And thank you very much. And I'm also apologize for being out of uniform today.
Thank you so much. And I think that's what we're gonna do, is that the next step is we're gonna pull a program together, and I'm gonna pull all of you and all the experts out there, and we're gonna create this program for the next generation of professionals to help families out there. So I think that's gonna be the next step that we're gonna do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you for being here. For everyone else, you can just leave. And the next thing that we're gonna have is we're gonna have Dr. William Burnett. He is not able to join live, so I actually interviewed him earlier. So I'm gonna play the recording for that. So hold on, let me get the recording and share that with you. Okay. All right, so okay, no sound. Okay, let me try that again. I apologize. I always have a little bit of this problem. I'm sorry. So let me try again. This. Um, okay, let's try again and see if we have audio. Dr. Bernard, thank you so much for being here. So today I wanted to just kind of focus on three key questions, and these are really focused on the solutions. So my questions are, and I think let's just start at the first one, which is, what are your proposed solution for solving parental alienation at the personal level, for these victims? And why are these proposed solutions have not worked before?
There are so many people who are interested in this topic, and there are many, many different ways to think about it. And I think each of us have different ways. And I know some people who are personally involved have very, very personal ways to think about parental alienation. I mean, my way is more as a child psychiatrist and as a professional, and dealing in the past with children and teenagers and families, and also then doing a lot of custody evaluations. So I guess my interest is kind of on a professional level, and because I've never had any direct personal involvement with this issue, which I'm happy about that. But my personal situation started maybe 14 or 15 years ago and it had to do with DSM. It had to do with the DSM-5 was just being developed and just being thought about. And so several people asked me if I was gonna, if parental alienation was going to be in DSM-5, since I knew that topic had come up before, and now we have this whole new idea coming. And so I put some thought into it and talked to some people, and I decided that that's what I would try to do. That my personal objective would be to get the concept and the words parental alienation into DSM-5. And so way back, way back before the DSM was published, we started collecting information and collecting groups of people who all wanted to do this. And we published two big papers and then one whole book called Parental Alienation, DSM-5 and ICD-11. We got together with people. The first get together was actually in Florence, Italy. We were there for a meeting, and several people from Europe, and we all got together and had a conference for several hours, and we had lunch, in the hotel in Florence, and that's kind of what got it off the ground. So and then I made formal application to both DSM and the ICD, and I felt that we got about half of what we wanted. In other words, we were not totally successful. We did not get the actual words parental alienation in DSM-5, but we did get the concept, and we got 3 different diagnoses that can be used. and the definitions were in fact tailored to paraphrase the concept of parental alienation. And just one of them is called child affected by parental relationship distress. And one is called parent-child relational problem. And one is called child psychological abuse. And so if you actually go to the book and look at these definitions, you can see how the words were picked in a way to simulate or paraphrase the definitions of parental alienation. So I haven't quite accomplished that. I mean, that's still my goal. What I'd like to do over the next couple of years is get material together and documents and publish papers and other types of arguments, other types of research, and once again go back to the people who are in charge of the DSM, meaning the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And there's a whole method for doing this, that there's an ongoing, it used to be the DSM was revised maybe every 10 years, but currently there's an ongoing method for reviewing new information and new ideas and correcting old ideas. And so I think in the next year or so, we'll be able to take this information back to this committee and have them look at it and see what they say. So that's my personal goal. And I realize that not everybody's interested in this. In other words, that happens to be what I'm interested in and what gives me energy to think about that. And I realize, other people have totally different. I mean, this is something they think is a waste of time, perhaps. But I think all of us have to choose different paths that help us understand and help us do something about parental alienation.
For the parents that don't understand what DSM is, would you explain what would it mean to the parents, to the families, if this is being added into the DSM?
So the DSM is this book that's published by the American Psychiatric Association, and it has definitions of psychiatric diagnoses. In other words, it stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And, like all these different diagnoses, like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or anxiety problems, they're all in this book. And it's meaningful because if parental alienation were in the DSM, it means it would be recognized, that there wouldn't be this big argument about it and about the criteria for it. So this actually connects me up to your second question, which I think has to do with what are the obstacles. I think you call it on a, not a business level, but an industry level.
Right, yes.
And so the way I see that, the DSM is connected to that, because I think what I consider our industry are the professions that deal with parental alienation. And I mean the legal professionals, the mental health professionals, the psychiatrists, psychologists, the social workers, the judges. So we have work to do in that area. And we have done a lot of work. In other words, different people who are interested in parental alienation have had conversations with many, many different judges and attorneys and legislators, for instance. And but what we haven't been able to do is address it in a systematic way. And by that, I mean, what are the training programs in this country and in other countries? What are the training programs for psychologists and psychiatrists and social workers and attorneys? These training programs have criteria. A psychiatric training program can't just do whatever it wants. There's a whole list of things that psychiatrists are supposed to learn, and child psychiatrists have a somewhat different list, and psychologists have a curriculum. So what we need to do is to get parental alienation into these college and graduate school curricula. uh, as a topic that needs to be addressed. And so if we do that, it'll then be, they'll start putting it in textbooks, they'll build it into the schedule, like family law. Attorneys, I'm sure, take a course called family law. They'll build in to several days of talking about parental alienation. And it'll also be in the continuing education activities of these organizations. So that's something we've done in a very, very sporadic way. I was involved in a college here in the South that a couple of years ago actually started a required course. This is a graduate program for family counselors. And they started a required course on, it's on family, I guess family conflict, I guess is the topic, but parental alienation is built into that. So that's this one little university here in Louisiana. And so we've done this in a very spotty way, but we need to do it in a more systematic way. What's holding us back? I mean, it takes time and energy, and there has to be somebody with kind of like with connections to these agencies that create these curricula. So it's something that we've thought about, but we haven't gotten around to, and there needs to be people, hopefully we'll find people who really want to go after this, and we'll be able to accomplish it in the next few years.
What about at the system level? I mean, you address the personal level, the industry level. What about the system and the society level?
I think most people who are in the middle of this agree that family law is a problem. The way family law is worked out. In other words, when people get divorced and there are disagreements about the children, that we have an adversarial system, and almost everybody would agree that that's not a very good system, that people say it's broken or it's dangerous or it damages families and children. And so we need to think about other ways to deal with family law issues when children are involved. And some people have put a lot of thought into this, and the main thing that people think about are mediation. It's called mandatory, obligatory, structured mediation, where the mom and dad would come together with the guidance of usually an attorney who would help them together figure out what the schedule should be for the children. And that this would be required, that if you're going to have a divorce involving children, you would have to go through this. And it's not just one day, it's a series of meetings where people are educated as to how this is really the way to go. And I suppose if it totally fails as a last ditch effort, they would end up in court, but every effort would be made to avoid that. Now, there are legal groups that are already advocating this and have for years, and maybe they'll eventually get this on board in more places. So that's a really big step on a societal level. And the other step is focusing on shared parenting, because almost all the research about shared parenting indicates that when parents have equal time, 50-50 or close to 50-50, that the children do better. And not just then, but 10 years later, the children are better off if they grew up in a home where the parents had 50-50 or close to that in terms of their parenting time. So those are some things that I think are possible, but I think it's going to take a cooperation between advocacy groups like people who are interested in parental alienation, and attorneys and judges and legislators, because there's going to have to change the law in many states, and on both a state perhaps and perhaps on a federal level. So that's a huge task, but I know people are working on those, on both those, the non-adversarial court and the shared parenting. So that's what we're wishing them the best on those fronts.
Thank you so much. I mean, like, I know that we would talk forever. I mean, I have so many more questions for you. So anyway, I hope to catch you soon in May. We'll have a much more in-depth conversation. But for today, I really appreciate your input with that. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, thank
Talk to
you.
you later.
Okay, so that was Dr. William Burnett. I realized that I didn't make any introduction because I assumed that everyone know who he is. But I should, like, while I'm waiting for the next guest coming on right now, I want to take a moment to introduce him. So Dr. William Burnett is a forensic psychiatrist who is a founder of Parental Alienation study groups, as well as clearly an expert in parental alienation. So if you haven't seen him, haven't heard him, then yeah, he was the first person that we interviewed on Victim to Hero, and also we're gonna be interviewing him again in May, in about 3 weeks or so. So look out for that. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, and just stay put. We're gonna have the next panel right now with us, and right now the panel is gonna be about solving parental alienation, but instead of from the perspective of the experts, we now have the perspective of the adult children, the children victims who are now adults. And I wanted to welcome with us, we have Mary, who's an adult child of parental alienation, and we have Tracy, who is also on the board of the Hero Circle, which is an alliance of adult children of parental alienation. I apologize. Words not coming out. Okay, so we are gonna address the same set of questions. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so the audios are working. Mary, I don't see your audio. I don't see your mic. Let's make sure that your audio is working. Do you have a mic? Is it?
I'll test mine. Mine's working. Mary, can you hear us?
Mary, can you hear us? No? Hi, Mary. Okay, we have a little bit of a technical problem. I'm gonna text her. And yeah, hi everyone, thank you. Hi, thank you, Ashia, for all those blue hearts. Thank you. Hi, Laurie. We're gonna give Mary. Oh, Mary, she can't hear us. Okay. 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 Sorry, everyone. Just technical problem for a moment. Yeah. I think Mary has no mic, and also she can't hear us either. But okay. You know what? I think we're gonna go carry on because we have more programs coming on. So
Okay,
if
you.
yay, Mary's coming back with a mic.
Yay. Hi,
Can you
Mary.
hear us, Mary?
I just can't see you now.
I will see if we can get you on camera. Yay, there you go. All right, technical problem solved. Yay.
Okay, well, there we go.
And thank you everyone for being patient. All right, so let's just get into this, and we have another panel sitting there waiting for us right now. So okay, let's go into the solution. We are the adult children of parental alienation. I'm gonna start with Tracy. What do you think is the solution from the personal level? How do we solve parental alienation?
Well, I would think like when I talk to people that, are like me and kind of discover this, much like when you suspect or realize that you have depression or anxiety or PTSD, getting help and support is such a big factor in being able to kind of unpack this successfully. Something that I found since getting more involved in support groups, well, our support group with the victim heroes or the heroes circle at least, is a lot of us seem to assume that this was rare and that we were alone, but we are not. And even if you've had prior diagnoses experiences, it could be very jarring. Honestly, when I learned about this and put it together and I suspected, hey, I think this actually happened to me. And then you go and you read the demographics of, hey, children who are alienated are more likely, to experience depressive disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and things like that. It can be kind of alarming to put it all together in that way. So I would say personal level, the number one factor is recognizing it within yourself so that you can either get support or get professional help.
Thank you. So yeah, definitely look out for, and it's okay to get help, to
Yes.
recognize that yes, we need support and we need help. So that's definitely important. What about Mary? What do you think is the solution from the individual level?
I believe that when we reach out to the person that has been alienated, that they need to learn to listen instead of slamming doors in our faces, hanging up the phone. I mean, there's a reason why we reach out. It's because we feel in our hearts that we're missing out on something good. So they should realize the same thing and understand our point when we're there, care. And then forgive. Forgive is an important thing, especially when time's short. When we find our alienated parents or children later on in life, we don't have much time. So when we have reached out, I believe that there should be a counseling group for alienated parents and children together as adults. And it doesn't mean that they're going for psychiatric care or anything. It's more a parent child bonding reunification kind of thing, so that um, slowly you could bring all your children in together. Like my father, there was 8 of us, 8 kids that we were all alienated from my father. So you can't just bring it all on them at one time. So we gradually put ourselves in front of my father. He was on his deathbed, but we did get to see him at the end. But you don't want our kids or us even to see our own parents that way anymore. It's devastating. It's very devastating. So my solution is people need to learn to care. Courts need to recognize that in the end, someone's going to hurt. And as soon as they stop doing that, then they know that kids are going to grow up to be healthy parents. And then they will look after their parents. There's a lot of parents in those senior homes that nobody cares for. And, we make a big difference by visiting them instead of their own kids. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's such an important aspect of it, which is she brought up a few things there, but like in particular the support, and I totally agree with that. I'm also an adult child of parental alienation, and I definitely agree with two things. One is education, so that you have the skills so that you can deal with your situation, whether you are an alienated parent or whether you are an alienated child. So if you can have the right tool, the skill set, so education and resources. And the second thing which Mary brought up is support. So yeah, we need a lot more support, like the support group, resources out there, definitely. And yeah, definitely to recognize that the process of reunification is not a simple, easy process. We all need awareness. We all need to be patient about that. Why don't we go into the next two questions together? Tracy, do you want to address, from the industry or the society or the system level, what are your recommendations?
Yeah, so one of my big ones that's a little bit more on the, I guess, casual side, and maybe this might have fit a little bit better under our first question, but learning ongoing mental hygiene has been just absolutely pivotal for me. Like many people out there, I wasn't able to stay in formal therapy for long term. You know, it's no secret that there is an access and affordability issue, especially here in America anyway. I can speak for that one. One of our guests in the first session actually mentioned as well is that children who are alienated tend to be far more likely to deal with mental health struggles. So I think as a society, if we can normalize that a little bit more, that would be great. But and then as far as, you know, tools in the professional realm, I think that just goes to show why it's so important to get parental alienation back into being recognized in the DSM, so that it can be approached with respect and proper education by more mental health professionals. Because when it's already so hard to get access to mental health, well, then you're basically interviewing mental health professional after mental health professional. Because if you end up with one that doesn't recognize it because they fall it under junk science, because it's not in the DSM or whatever they do to justify that feeling, you know, you're still shopping for help more than you are getting help. So I think for me that is a big reason why I want to personally fight to see it recognized on that respect again, because not only would it help ensure survivors like myself who are children that have grown up, and then we've also had all these other complicated mental health issues that have resulted, like it puts you statistically more likely to experience them, I guess it can be said. You know, we can actually get proper help. It would also give child psychologists indicators to look for to hopefully intervene before it has to have any further detrimental effects on children going forward. Kind of a stop the bleed mentality. Like, where can we get education out there so that we stop making more victims? And then a nice other furthermore that it could help is then also being able to provide therapy for targeted parents who are trying to heal from having this happen to them as well. Yeah, I think that that big piece of the fight that I want to see on an industry level is getting it recognized and then getting education and professional training around that.
Thank you. I think that's a very good point, to get education, get recognition in DSM so that it's properly treated. Very important aspect of that. What about Mary? What's your thought?
My thought, I have a long history with psychologists, psychiatrists, since 1984 due to domestic violence. And I basically help educate most of these around the world, but they really don't understand what parent alienation was until it really happened. So my thought is that we don't have a DSM here in Canada, but we do have the psychologist guides and everything, where they need to start adding these into documents where parents like myself that have been saying things for years that, you know, parents aren't being believed by psychologists and psychiatrists because they don't really know until they've been there. So what we need more of, instead of psychologists and psychiatrists, no, I'm not knocking them because they've got me this far. I mean, 43 years of this is a long time, but they need life coaches, coaches that have been there, coaches that know what they're dealing with, and every step of the way they could still say, yes, this is the pattern that they do. There is a pattern to alienators, and unless you've been there, you will not know. So we need to educate um, people like me better, to to get things out there so people can really listen this time, because not every parent will lie. And in what they need to see, they always say the reverse psychology of things are what happens. So when you see an alienator alienating a child, you obviously know that person had problems, because no one in their right mind will take a good parent and alienate them from a child to abuse a child mentally when they know that parent the day before was putting food on the table for them. As a family, as a unit, there was nothing wrong with the family. And then, boom, the next night, the kids are sending court papers to the judges saying that my mom beat me or my mom did this or my dad did this. It's all in the process of learning and coaching professionals today by reality and what had really happened in order to teach life events instead of fictional events. If you can understand what I'm saying, a lot of
No,
made
I
up stuff.
agree. Yeah, no, I totally understand and I agree. Yeah, we need like whether you want to talk about DSM, whether you want to talk about life coaches, therapists, lawyers, we need education in all level. I totally agree. People don't know what it is, people don't know how to deal with it. Then we have people that create more problem to parents as it is, more problem to the children, people that don't know it create more problem. And for me, from the industry level, I would, these are the things that I said all the time. We need education, we need more education. But I wanted to bring something today that I actually have never mentioned it before. That actually something that just happened today that it made me realize how important it is for me to bring it up. Is that I've noticed, and I am so grateful for so many of you out there have been so supportive of the work that I am doing. And I've noticed that there are a lot of people that are working to advocate for this cause. And we do need your support. We really need your support because there are actually people out there that are actively and maliciously going to try to destroy our work. And it's devastating because we're seeing all these victims, and what we're trying to do is to help the victims. And then you have these people that the way that they're treating us is the same way that the alienator is treating the parents in the family level. Now we're talking about the industry level. These people doing the same thing to us, to the activists, to the advocates, the same way that they're treating these parents. There's projections, there's gaslighting, there's false allegations, there's bad mouthing, there's character assassination. All these things are going on. We need change in the industry in that level as well. We need your support, and I am so grateful for everyone's support. So thank you very much. Any last thought before we go? I know today is so compact. Everyone's just like,
I know I kind of want to talk a little bit about like what I would love to see in family courts.
yes.
As far as, I mean, obviously recognition in the DSM so that it can be diagnosed and treated. But a lot of this, I think, is just making it so it's not systemically so easy to happen, because that is something that I felt directly contributed to my story. Recognition of PA could be used for improving post-divorce educational programs. There are some programs out there that have, hey, like you've got kids involved and here's a little boot camp. But I just think they're kind of lacking in short term. Having something that's a little bit more educational and a therapeutic approach would be helpful. And then lastly, something I feel very passionate about is trying to go towards more presumed 50-50 arrangements so that we can avoid most of these even needing to go to court. I know myself, and I know in talking to other, survivors of this, a lot of us felt like we were property being fought over and not like kids with emotional needs of our parents. So I think even little things like that can help even change a cultural shift of accepting that, both parents are good. Let's work towards this. Let's try to avoid this unnecessary divide that is damaging the children and really even both parents in a way. I'd love to see that in our world.
Thank you. Well, any other thought, Mary? Yeah.
Well, I like to say one thing too. When there is a divorce, doesn't matter high conflict or just any divorce, a child has a mom and a dad, the judge should automatically say to the parents, you're both getting them. Figure out a time. That's all. And what each parent should just look at each other and say, it's for the interest of the children. And let the children live. And be happy with both parents the day they walk into court, and then leave the children out of it. Don't let them choose sides. There is no side that is right or wrong. because they both end up damaged. Sorry.
No, I'm so
You're okay.
sorry.
It's been a long time. It'll be 16 years. I haven't seen my own children.
A lot of us are still healing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'll ever heal.
I'm sorry.
But yes, children, they are suffering. They are suffering dearly with mental health issues. I see them sharing it on their Facebook page. Anxiety. I mean, even as parents, we all have anxiety. I know when I found my dad, he had severe anxiety, and unfortunately, my children weren't allowed to go see their grandfather as a wish uh, 2 years ago, and they're adults, and they should still not be imprisoned in their alienators' minds. They need to be released. That's the only way I see out for these kids, because that's what happened with me. Because I ended up telling my father's wife that she can't control us anymore, even as adults, whether he's in a hospital or not. I will go see my father when I want to. I don't need someone to tell me. So my kids need to be released as well. Every child needs to be released by the alienators' minds. They are in there. They are in there because you can hear their voices when the children speak. You can hear um, our parents' partners when they speak. You don't hear the person speaking. You hear people that are damaging these people, the kids, us. I mean, I guess I got stuck in the middle. I feel I've got both. And being married to a man that's been alienated from his own father for 61 years, you see these patterns from the moment you meet them. And it's all about revenge. That's all I know, that these kids are kept away from us for. It's revenge. We leave them, and then we suffer. We stay, we suffer. The children don't need to see that.
Thank
Like
you
we
so much. Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
I was gonna say it's one again, another story along with mine. It's like our experiences. I can't go back and change what happened to me. We can't go back and change what happened to us. But I'm done seeing it. I'm done watching it happen. And it doesn't, there's so much literature and research. It's almost frustrating. And I think that's what a lot of us are getting really ready to fight for. We're done seeing more kids being put down this product line like this, setting up this way. It's not necessary anymore.
No. I'm
Thank
waiting
you
to
so
see
much.
grandchildren. I'd love to see some grandchildren, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petra.
No,
Thank
thank
you,
you so
Petra.
much. Really appreciate that. Okay,
Thank
so thank you, Mary and Tracy. Really appreciate you guys. We're going to have another panel coming on. Yeah, thank you so much, and see you guys later. I just want to pick up a question in the chat room where Karen asked, Karen asked about if there's a group where adult children can be referred to. I'm looking for that question. Anyway, she was asking if there was an adult child or parental alienation, is there somewhere that people can be referred to? So basically, as far as we know, we are the first and the only group. The hero circle, not victim to hero, the hero circle is the only group that we know of that representing entirely just adult children of parental alienation. The organization doesn't have any expert, doesn't have any lawyers, doesn't have therapists, anything like that. Only adult children of parental alienation. I mean, some of them could be lawyers, some of them could be therapists, but the criteria for the members of the hero circles is that they are adult children of parental alienation. So, if you know of other adult children of parental alienation, please feel free to refer them to us. And then I'm just gonna give us a minute. I'm just gonna check on the next panel. Julie, thank you so much for joining us. A little bit of a technical problem, so let me just double check on 2 more people for the next panel. So I think I'm not sure. Maybe they're waiting for me in the other room. They may not check email. Sorry, hold on. They may not check email. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, we got Dawn. Okay, I think we're just missing Molly. Sorry for the change of the venue. I apologize. Okay, let me see if I can find Molly. Would you happen to have Molly's number that you could text her or something? Because I think. Okay, I think she's still stuck in the other link. Okay. All right, hold tight, everyone. We're gonna start very, very soon. I think we'll just have one more speaker, and it's my fault. I'm sending our guests into a different conference room, and now I'm just tricks them, and now we have to make sure we get our guests back. So. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much for your encouragement. There's a lot going on today, so I'm really like mixing up addresses and links, and now I don't know if Molly can find us.
Petra, did you see her note that she can't go past 2:30 today? So she may have.
She probably won't be able to join, and I'm so sorry. Okay, so why don't we just go ahead and start? So now we are going on to our third panel today. And this panel is solving parental alienation from the perspective of the U.S. advocates. Now we're going to have another panel later on today that is solving parental alienation from the perspective of the international advocacy groups. But right now it's the U.S. group. So I want to introduce Dawn Hubin and Julie Grayson. So Dawn is representing the, actually I'm gonna let you introduce. And Julie, do you want to pick it up? So do you want to introduce your organization and what does the organization do, and the mission and that?
Sure. So thank you for having me today on a very important day, Parental Alienation Awareness Day. And I am the Director of Education and Advocacy and a legislative consultant throughout the country. My organization is FanPAC, New Jersey. You can go to fanpacnj.org to find out more. And I participate in national legislative drafting and accountability and advocacy in multiple states throughout the country.
Awesome.
Our mission is to make sure that every child has a right to love and be loved by both parents.
That's a good mission. What about you, Dawn?
So I'm Don Hubin. I'm the chair of National Parents Organization. We're a large national organization focused primarily on shared parenting. And in fact, our mission is very similar to FANPAC's mission. Different wording, but the same sentiment. And we've actually worked with FANPAC in some ways to promote our common goals. We're primarily focused on reforming the norms of separated parenting, which involves some of the legislative work that Julie does so much of, but also educating divorce professionals, judges, lawyers, custody evaluators, and so forth, and importantly, educating parents, because as I think most people know, in every state in the union, even those 2 states that don't actually have shared parenting statutes, courts can award shared parenting if the parents go in and ask for it, and generally the courts will defer to the parents. So part of what we need to do is to educate parents about the benefits of shared parenting when they're parenting separately.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then for everyone, because you've never seen me before, my name is Petra Dieter, and I'm representing 2 organizations. One is Victim to Hero. I think that you have an idea of what our mission is. We want to advocate and we want to empower alienated parents and alienated children so that you can reunite and have a happy family. Wow, it sounds so different from your organizations, both of you. And then we also want to bring public awareness to this problem, this huge, massive problem of parental alienation. The other organization that I represent is the Hero Circle. The Hero Circle is an alliance of adult children of parental alienation, and our goal is to bring public awareness to the problem of parental alienation from the perspective of the children victims, but also to provide support and resources for the adult children of parental alienation. So I'm going to go back to Julie. Let's talk about solutions. What do you think are the solutions needed at the personal level?
Okay, well, on the personal level, because I deal with a lot of courts, as well as different legislatures, there has to be a thread that unites all the stakeholders. So on a personal level, we're talking about attorneys, mental health professionals who are specifically trained, like Dr. Amy Baker, in this very subspecialized field. I would link into that thread also, Pedra, the police, because they play a role in a lot of these situations as well. A lot of parents in the family court systems have court orders where children are being exchanged at police departments. So on a baseline level, police are involved. And on a broader level, domestic violence specialists who deal with the police also at homes or at police departments have to be able to be trained in a uniform way in order for everybody to be on the same page here. Because if we're not on the same page, then this would not yield the resolution that all stakeholders want in this case, which is to reunite children with families, with both loving parents, and to move forward in a healthy and productive way in life. So on a personal level, there needs to be training throughout, uniform training amongst all these stakeholders to be able to effectuate real change. Without that, I do not see the needle moving very swiftly.
I totally agree. And I would add to that, teachers, and so many other people in the community, I totally agree. The lack of awareness, lack of education is such a serious problem out there. And it kind of linked back to the first panel that we had today, that we talk about lack of education and awareness. And yeah, so what about Don? What do you think it should be the solution?
So I was listening to some of the last panel where people could speak quite poignantly about their personal experiences and what they thought needed to be done for individuals to try to heal and get past this. And I don't have any insights into that that are any better than those, certainly not as good as those who you just spoke with. So obviously, as we both said, awareness of this is important. But if you're going to ask me next about institutional changes, I think there are some ones I'd really like to recommend.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and take that on?
It was very interesting to me in the comment section of the last session. There were people who were saying that 50-50 parenting doesn't work if you're parenting with an alienator, and that you can't have equal parenting under those circumstances. And I'm not an expert on the psychological elements here, but it's my perception that there are alienators who will alienate no matter what. And NPO has never suggested that 50-50 parenting will get rid of parental alienation. It solves all those problems, or so it's appropriate in every case. But I think we make a mistake if we divide the world into alienators and non-alienators. And the alienators are going to alienate no matter what, and the non-alienators are not going to alienate no matter what. Because I think we've created a system which encourages people to alienate. We've set up a system where there's a winner-loser approach to separated parenting. And some people who are not at their core vicious people, they wind up engaging in strategies that are harmful, alienating behaviors. And so I think that reducing the sort of winner-loser approach that we have, trying to avoid as much as possible the adversarial legal system when you're dealing with marital separation or separation of parents who have been living together. I think those things will reduce the frequency of alienating behaviors and the harm to children. So that's really the core function of National Parents Organization, is to ensure that children don't lose that full relationship with each of their parents when they divorce. And we think that helps with reducing alienating behaviors. I think there are courses and educational project that is ongoing, and it is especially important, Petra, because of the effort that you were highlighting in the last session by some people to undermine the science of parental alienation. And so I think we have a serious challenge before us to make sure that people understand that parental alienation is real. Whatever you call it, the phenomenon is real, and it's harmful to children, and it is a form of coercive control. So that's an ongoing effort for us to make that. I think there are interesting questions about what you should do institutionally when you have a case of parental alienation. And because I don't think that everyone who engages in alienating behaviors is sort of irredeemably an alienator, I think there should be ways to educate parents who are engaging in those behaviors and to get them not to behave in those behaviors, to understand how harmful those behaviors are to children. But then you also have to identify those people who are just bent on alienating, and then you have to separate those parents from the children, or maybe they're only subject to supervised visitation if they're going to continue that behavior. So I think there are a lot of things we can do institutionally to reduce parental alienation and to reduce the harm it causes when it's taking place. We have a long ways to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for that clarification. And I see what you're saying is that nobody is advocating for an abuser to have the children. The point is you trying to get us to have at a better starting point, instead of where we are now, where it's already adversarial for the parents that are potentially going to be alienated. Let's start at a better starting point, and then if we have that as a standard, maybe it actually changes the public awareness and acceptance about the roles of parents and things like that. So I totally agree with that. What about you, Julie? What's your thought about the institutional, the industry level solution?
Okay, well, on piggybacking on what Don said, from a legislative perspective, in context with the industry, every single citizen, whether they're a stakeholder or not, Pedra, on these issues, can go to the state judiciary committee websites and House websites. They can see within their own local communities, as well as on the state level, where bills are, whether they're pending. For example, in New Jersey, we have one right now that we have been successful on getting it through the House. It's in the Senate Judiciary Committee right now. I testified about a week and a half ago for the California the Senate Judiciary Committee. And it does help because there's two prongs there. There's the public, which can literally get a link, have a voice, and be heard. You are on a wait list, on a phone call, your number will come up, and you will be able to say whether you're for and against a particular family law bill. The speakers that have the floor a little bit longer, that's the other institutional or industry standard, if you will, that needs to be honed in on a little bit more closely. There needs to be professionals that are the speakers at these judicial hearings that are so trained in these sub-specialized issues that they are able to synthesize a impact statement before legislators. For all intent and purpose, Pedra, perhaps these are legislators that are not stakeholders or don't have a personal vested interest in this, but there's a way you could craft a legislative argument to, for example, if you're talking about parental alienation and they don't know what the term is because they're not Dr. Amy Baker or highly specialized experts in this area, you can use the terms broken bonds between parent and child, anything that on a humanistic level people can relate to. And of course, you always have to play to the legislators' bandwidth for these types of arguments. So from an industry standpoint, again, just to summarize, we need to be able to have specialists who are speaking before the legislative committees, who can ahead of time write letters. For example, we have it on our site, how to do it. We're in the middle of a legislative initiative right now in my state, and you can copy off of that website and see what to do. You contact your legislators, and as a professional, you could write an opposing or supporting letter to the legislators. They get them in advance. They do read them, and then you can have your highly skilled professionals making the argument, which again, the public can also weigh in on as well. I think that's very, very helpful. And then the other point that I would make is on, the different people that are stakeholders in this. I have a top-down approach. Judges are bound by certain legislative decisions. So my focus right now is on the legislature. But however, below that, judges have certain statutes that they adhere to in the courts. These statutes are very, very vague as to what, quote unquote, the best interest of the child standard is. You can go from one judge to the next down the hall, and you'll have a completely different court order with very, very similar facts in a case. Therefore, judges need to have special training by these subspecialists in the area. The Bar Association has to ensure that they get the right professionals to train these judges, so they're included in that. And I also feel that there needs to be positions in the Chancery Division in every state in the country where there is a position for an on-staff mental health professional in the courthouse, in every Chancery Division, that deals specifically with these issues. So again, there's a lot of change that needs to take place, but these are some of my suggestions to hopefully have a solution-based resolution for this broader issue.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And what Julie is trying to encourage is for everyone to take an active role in the law that we are seeing. You can actually play a role in what the lawmakers are doing. So what she's asking is, even for you as parents, you can actually tell your stories. You want people to hear the story, tell it to the lawmakers, and then obviously bringing in the right people in the industry with the expertise to make the right kind of recommendation to the lawmakers. Because politicians, they are not professional, they're not therapists, they don't have experience, personal experience, they don't have professional experience in this. So we need more proactive actions from all parties in this. So I totally agree with that. For us, we see from the personal level, we see that parents, this is kind of repeating what earlier, I just want to kind of emphasize the need for parents to recognize that education is very important, because you have to take the driver's seat You have to be the proactive person in solving this problem for your personal case. You can't just leave your case to your lawyer. You can't just leave your case to your therapist. It really, because when you hand it off, there's a lot of the professional don't even know what this is about. So you really have to take control of your case and educate yourself so that you can build the right team around you. In terms of the industry level, the same with what everyone's already talking about, so I won't add into it. Let's talk about society level. Do you want, Dawn, do you want to take that? What about, the society, the system level? Anything else that you want to add?
Sure. Let me just pick up on something you're saying. So one of the things that I've often told divorcing parents is this, and I think this applies to parents who are victims of parental alienation as well, that you have three tasks. They're separate. They're all important, but you have to keep them in the right priority ranking. The first is to be the best parent that you can be to your children within whatever constraints are imposed on you, no matter how unjust or wrong those are. And I realize that for parents who have been victims of severe alienation, it can be complete, severance of a relationship with the children, which is horrible. It's sort of unthinkable to me, when I think about what that would mean personally. But if you're able to have contact with your children, be the best parent you can, because they're not responsible for the unfair. The second task is to make the situation with your children as good as possible. If that means getting more time with your children, or if that means moving from a supervised visitation to unsupervised, etc., but to get the situation as good as it can be for your children. That's absolutely vital, but you shouldn't let that interfere with the first task. And I have seen people who have been so focused on winning a court battle that they're writing briefs or doing research when their children are with them, and they should be doing something with their children. So, the first task is to be the best parent you can be. The second task is to change your situation with your children to make it as good as possible. The third one, and this is the one that so many people forget, is to change the system. So, when you've done those other two things, you need to do what you can to improve the system. Because really, if people a generation before us who had been harmed by the system, people who had been victimized by parental alienation, and still had the energy and the resources to do something about it, if they had contacted their legislators and pushed, we would be in a better situation right now. So when these first two tasks are taken care of, when you have additional resources, you need to change the system, or our children are going to be facing this when they go through it, and we don't want that. So contacting your legislator, I couldn't agree more with Julie. The legislators pay attention, and a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm just one person. For state legislators, if they get just a handful of people weighing in on some issue, that is on their radar, because they know that for every person who contacts them, there are dozens who haven't contacted them that have the same problem. So don't underestimate the power that your voice has. But I would also say, and I think Julie was making this point, it doesn't mean that when there's a legislative hearing that the best strategy is to have 100 parents or children, adult children, go in there and give the testimony of how horrible their own personal experience was, because that just overwhelms the legislators. So that's where you really need, some human interest stories to focus on, but you really need the experts to come in and say, here's the phenomenon that's hurting these people, and here's how we have to address it.
Thank you. Thank you. So in the chat room, I know I saw Silvana that comment about, how frustrating it is because she felt that she's already the best parent she could be before the child was stolen from her. I wanted to highlight that we are not blaming victims. We're not here to blaming the victim at all. There's certain things though, is that when it comes to situation of alienated children, your children now have become traumatized. So parenting alienated children is actually different than just the normal range parenting. So it actually does require you to pick up different set of skills that you may not have been aware of, or you may not understand it. So there's aspect of it. It's not about blaming you or making you feel like you are not good enough as a parent, because clearly if you are not a loving parent, you wouldn't be hurting right now. You are hurting now because you are a great parent. So that's not what we're trying to say. But there's definitely a lot of things that we have to pick up now because your situation is no longer the situation before. Things have changed. So just wanted to highlight that. Julie, do you wanted to add something about the society or the, the system level?
Yes, on the societal level, it's been proven that children who are exposed to this kind of trauma have a greater inability to form healthy adult relationships going on. Suicide rates are higher. Mental health issues are higher. There is lifelong effects, depressive disorders, and so forth going forward. So the way that it impacts on society is straight across the board. You're not only passing this unhealthy dynamic on from generation to generation, but these children have a higher rate of being less functional in life, which affects every aspect of our society. There's even a higher level of criminal propensity. And a wise therapist told me years ago that these children, any parent who is angry or upset or feels that the child is really hurting them, the way that they described it to me is that these children are wounded birds. And what would you do if you had a wounded bird in an oil slick in the water? You would take it out and you would clean it off and you would love it that much more. These children have to be loved by you that much more, even if you are not with them. If you can text them, if you can call them, if you can send them a note, even if they're not with you, these children hear you. Do not let up on loving your children. And from a system level in society, what needs to happen is that just like there are commercials that are PSAs for smoking or things that the Surgeon General feels is unhealthy for you. Make no mistake about it, this is a public health emergency. It is a pandemic within a pandemic. And TV stations, they charge quite a bit of money for private commercials, but they do have some airtime, which they are willing to give if it's not booked for public service announcements. We are on a fundraising campaign. I know that Don is working in conjunction with us as well, because if every single day there is a commercial that is on, possibly played for 20 seconds a day, 2-3 times a day, at a certain point, stakeholders as well as non-stakeholders will have this ingrained in their psyche, and it will be common knowledge that this is an issue. And that is something on a system level in society that also has to be done to bring awareness. And I believe it's Linda Gottlieb, expert in this area, has also said, a rose by any other name is still a rose. You can call it parental alienation, you can call it broken bonds with children, any terminology that can be used in a PSA to impact the public is critical on the societal level and on the system level.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bringing a lot more public awareness. Definitely. Thank you so much. So before you go, could we get your website? Because many people, like both of you, many people are asking how to reach out to you. Could you just, like, I'm going to make sure that we put it in the recording later as well for you guys, like in the comment. But yeah, do you want to just give your website, spell it out for the audience?
Yes, ours is fanpacnj.org, fanpacnj.org. And I also run what's called Family Court Concierge, and I'll put that in the chat later as well.
Thank you. What about you, Don?
The National Parents Organization website is easy to remember. It's sharedparenting.org. It's all written as one word. And I'm easy to reach. I'm Don Hugan at sharedparenting.org.
Thank you. Thank you. So also, yeah, Dawn and Julie are gonna be checking the recording as well. So if you guys feel free to add more questions, they're gonna be addressing your question in the comment as well. So Dawn and Julie, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate you, and I apologize for a late start, but really thank you.
That's okay.
You're
Thank you.
very welcome.
Thank you. Okay, bye. All right. So for the next session is about, let's see, we are up to session 4. Okay, session 4, we're gonna be talking about two things. One is two public awareness campaign. One we have is called the Boundless Love art installation. Now with this Boundless Love art installation, what we wanted to do is to collect hard cutouts from parents, grandparents, from anyone out there who supports this cause. And it can be made from any type of materials. You know, it could be plastic, paper, you know, we've seen acrylic, things like that. So heart shape, about 2 inches, or for people in other countries, it will be 5 centimeter. So 5 centimeter or 2 inches, heart shape, and we're gonna hang them. So if you could create a hole and loop out a string so that we can hang them. We want to collect 1,000 hearts so that we can create a 7-foot art installation structure and hopefully be able to bring it to different places for display. So far we have received over 200 and we really need more. I wanted to share with you guys, this photo has taken like a while ago. So this has under 200. I have received more since then, and I will show those later. But yeah, we really need a lot more. We need 1,000. So please help us out to get 1,000, because we want to bring public awareness and we want to reach the public from the emotional level. And these are the broken hearts from all the parents that are missing their children, so, and all the grandparents and all the families. So, you know, you can have messages on there, you can decorate it however you like, just don't have any personal details. So no phone number, no full name, you can have first name. So anyway, please send the heart cutout to me, and this is the address in Los Angeles. We really need 1,000 hearts. The sooner the better. As soon as we get 1,000 hearts, we're gonna create this art installation, and it's gonna be 7 foot tall, and we're gonna try to bring it around to as many places that we can afford to. So please help us out and let other people know. Thank you so much. So that's one project, which is the Boundless Love art installation. The address, Laurie, did you see the address? I'll share it again. Sorry if it was too fast. Okay, the address is right there. Petra Dita, P.O. Box 56116 in Los Angeles, California 90056. Okay, and if you are sending from outside of the US, please put USA as well. So thank you. So that's one project. Another project that we have for public awareness is called the Hero Songs Project. Now, the Hero Songs Project, we want to invite artists from all around the world to dedicate a song that will be for this cause, to bring awareness to parental alienation problem. So we invite parents and people to send in to us writings. It could be poems, it could be letters that you send to your children, it could be diary, it could be letters that you write that you want the world to know, whatever is the writing that you want to share with us. We want you to submit those writing to us, and we share this with artists from around the world, and then the artists will pick some of these writing and they might add their own writing, but that's sort of like the point of inspiration for them to write songs and record songs. So I want to share with you some of the participating artists that we have. One of the artists that we have, let me just bring her up. Okay, so one of the artists that we have is Effie Passero. You might have heard of her. So Effie Passero is an American Idol alum. She, I'm gonna actually let her share her story right now. So I'm gonna just share this with you guys. And she was not able to join today, so we recorded this yesterday from her. And I hope you bring your tissue. And let me know if there's any sound problem, okay? So hi, Effie. Thank you so much for being here today, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me, like, what do you think about parental alienation, and do you have any personal experience with it?
I do actually have experience with it. My parents got divorced when I was 11 and my brothers were 8. And our mom got custody of us, but instead of just kind of allowing us to decide what we would like with our father, she spent most of our childhood just poisoning our minds against him. And it wasn't until I was 17 when I left for college that I decided to kind of not, I had never just abandoned my father, but I wanted to rekindle my relationship with him and learn things for myself and experience my father for myself. And then my dad and I got really close, and it's not the same for my brothers, unfortunately. They're not close with him. They don't even want to try. It's really sad.
Did you find things that you didn't know about your father that was different than what was told about your father?
Oh yeah. Sorry. Just yeah, I did.
Sorry.
That's okay. Um, some people may not be meant to be parents by any means, but he was always a really good person, and so proud of us and all of our achievements. Um, and thankfully, because of the internet, he follows me on Instagram and sees all the music that I'm performing everywhere. We've just gotten really close, and I'm really grateful that I allowed myself to have an open mind and I didn't just allow my mother to poison me forever, because I don't know what happens. It doesn't really matter at this point in my life, but she has so much animosity towards him that it just took over everything. And she has not a kind thing to say about him ever, no matter what. It's really sad.
Wow, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We are so grateful for you to be a part of the Heroes Songs project. We're really grateful.
Yeah.
Why are you a part of this project?
I think I had never heard of it until you had reached out to me. And so I went down the rabbit hole and read a few articles, and I didn't realize it was so common. And I think that a lot of people have a lot of trauma and things they didn't understand because there was no light shown upon this topic. And so I think it's just really important to share it with other people, and also in solidarity, just remind other people that they're not alone. And even though the damage might already be done, if we just keep moving forward and tell other people, then maybe we can at least prevent it in the future. You never know.
Do you have a message for other alienated parents out there who are brokenhearted and not able to reach out to their children?
I have nothing to say except I'm sorry, and that I wish some people weren't so cruel. I think that's the only word to describe that, is cruelty. And a lack of compassion. And I don't know if that's because of where humanity is going, but you're not alone. And I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope that whatever song I choose or write will be helpful. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
No, we're very grateful to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so that was a conversation that I had with Effie Pissarro. It was a little bit longer conversation than she said, but as you can see, it was a very heartbreaking conversation. It was really emotional. So anyway, so Effie Pacero have joined our campaign for public awareness against parental alienation, and we are very grateful for her. Another American Idol alum that have joined the campaign for against parental alienation is David Hernandez. Now he just joined yesterday, and we haven't been able to schedule a time with him yet, but you probably have seen him on American Idol. We're gonna bring him on another time and talk to him and interview him, but he's happy to be a part of this project as well, and we are also very grateful to have him to be a part of the project. We really need artists from all around the world to help share this message. Using music, using song, because we need to reach the public from the emotional level. Okay, I wanted to, some of you have seen, so another one of our parental alienation awareness campaign is a Facebook frame that I've seen many of you are using in the chat room. I wanted to show you the latest video. I know that I haven't added a lot of you that just got your frame last night, so this is missing some of you, but I'm gonna show you what we have. The reason I wanted to show this because it has one of the song in the Hero Song Project that was dedicated by David Hernandez and Effie Pacero. So I'm gonna show that now to you guys. And let me know in the chat room if you see your face. Okay, and then if your face is not there, let me know as well, because we definitely want to make sure that we include you in the next version of this video clip. Let's see.
And after all this time, baby, I just thought maybe we could put our weapons down. And after all this time, baby, I just thought maybe we could turn it all around. But now it's clear to me, so clear to me, that you don't see what I see. No, you don't see what I see.
Another page torn, a story's all wrong, and I'm done. Tears falling, blame.
So I know that not everyone can use a frame, because I know that some situations are sensitive and you don't want to be sort of obvious about it. We did create two different frames, one that just said children first, which is a little bit more neutral if you want to use that, and then there's another one called Parental Alienation Awareness, so it's a little bit more direct. If you go on our Facebook page, Victim to Hero Facebook page, you'll see various versions of this video clip, and we're going to just keep adding on. So far, we've seen over 200 parents that have used this. I apologize, maybe not just parents, maybe grandparents and other people as well, but we've seen over 200 people that have used this. Facebook doesn't let us know who's using this, so we have no way of tracking. This is just based on the people that letting us know that you are using this, so thank you. And anyone that we notice, we're gonna just keep adding to that. And anyway, I just want to point out the music there came from Effie Pacero and David Hernandez, and that song is dedicated to the Hero Songs Project. Okay, so those are not the only artists that are participating, and I know we have one artist sitting in the chat room right now as well, but we'll get to him in a second. I wanted to introduce another artist that is also a part of the Hero Song Project, and she goes by the name the artist Red, and she's a top hip-hop artist in New Zealand. So there's just a little bit of a trailer, I guess, for her upcoming performance. We didn't get a chance to schedule a time to talk with her because she's preparing for her a lot of things that are going on actually, so she's not able to talk right now, but we're going to schedule a separate time to interview her and talk to her, because she's also very happy and very supportive to be a part of the Hero Songs Project.
funny how things always gonna turn on them. Intentions good, no matter anyway. Cause good intentions can only mean
So anyway, so that was another artist, which is from the hip hop genre. Her name is she's go by the artist Red. We also have more artists. Okay, hold on. Technology. Apologize. Okay, so one more artist that we again, it's harder to schedule the artist to come right at this time. So some of the people will kind of just plan it ahead. But so this one is a rock artist. So he's a rock singer songwriter, Josh Decker.
How can you begin to determine what is right when you've never wronged or even heard a put up a fight? How can you stand there on its smiles when you've never been lonely, not even for a little while?
So that's another artist that is a part of the Hero Songs project. You've noticed that we have artists coming from all type of genres, and that's exactly what we need. We need artists from all around the world and all type of genres. So I want to introduce another artist that is right now in the chat room, and this is Chris Gill. You see him in the chat room. I'm going to share with you a clip of the conversation that we have, and I'm going to post the full interview in YouTube later, but this is just a short clip from that conversation that we have. And please do let me know if there's any audio issue. I'm really trying to make sure we have audio.
So the last thing I got from Caitlin was this card. It says
Beautiful.
It just says Dad on it. And then when I open it up, it says, it doesn't take a lot of big words to wish a wonderful dad a happy Father's Day. 3 little ones say it all. Love you, Dad. Have a great day. To Dad, happy Father's Day. Love, Caitlin. Kiss, hug, kiss, hug. That's the last I see my daughter when she brought it here. And now I can't reach her, nothing. Put it this way. Pedra, if my daughter or your daughter or son was missing, wouldn't you be on the news? But Pedra, right now is like, I don't know if my daughter is alive. We don't know if she, we know this, right? I don't know how I'm gonna know, right?
It's lonely at night, thinking of you. Sometimes almost going insane. I picture your smile, I hear your laughter so wild. Puts a smile on my face every time.
On an end note, how painful it is. If people thinks it's easy to take your life, I got news for you. That gotta be some pain for to take your life, missing your child, and it's happening all over the world. That is some pain you can't, that's not selfish. That's so much pain, you can't deal with it. Lucky I had the people around me, but that is some pain. That's not a coward. That is so much pain, you can't deal with it. And the love of your life is gone. You feel empty. I just told you, I walk around, but there's no heart. You know what I mean? My heart is in my hands and my music. You're missing that beautiful thing. Most people want Rolls Royces. I mean, I had it all, but I don't want Rolls Royces. I don't want nothing. I want to be able to feed my child and make her smile every day like I had. That's it. I don't need the riches of the world. I just want, you could be my daughter. This is your dad telling you how much he loves you. And that's tougher than people can even dream of. Every night. It's painful. And the only way I could put it out is through the piano. Just through the piano is the only way. "12 years. So the last thing I got.
That was another very difficult conversation, very emotional conversation that I had with Chris. And Chris, thank you so much for opening your heart and also for dedicate your music to this cause. We are very grateful because Chris has dedicated a number of his songs for the Hero Songs Project. Some of you have heard we feature some of his songs. One is Look at Me, Look at You. Also, I think he sent us 2 or 3 other songs. One is Missing You. I think there's another one coming as well. He has a new album that's coming out. So we are so grateful and thank you for being a part of this, for helping spreading the message. One of the things that Chris actually recommended is for us to organize a concert where all the Hero Song Project's artists come and perform live in person, and then parents and other people can join and come to the concert. We're definitely going to be considering that idea very seriously. So we'll let you guys know. But we hope that if we do organize the concert, that you are going to come. I mean, are you going to come? Like, would you come to such concert? Because I think we definitely need to raise awareness, and we definitely also need to raise funding for all this effort that we are working on. So thank you. There's another artist from the Hero Song Project who you saw on one of the panel earlier, which is Mary. She's an alienated child, and she's also an alienated mother, and she sent in a song. I'm gonna play a clip of it. There's no video, so I'm just gonna play the audio. I don't know if you can hear. You probably can't hear that, so let me just make sure I share it properly. Anyway, that just to give you a hint of the music that she sent us to dedicate to the Hero Songs Project. So thank you so much, Mary. We have more artists actually a part of the project, but we just want to highlight a few today. Okay, so the next session is the, I think we get to the next session now. Let me just double check to make sure I don't miss something. Let me just double check on the program. 1 second. Okay, so the next session, guys, is the Parental Alienation Awareness Campaign, which is the film festival. Let me, again, I apologize. I'm going to have to send everyone a new link because I sent my guests into a wrong place. So let me make sure I get my speakers onto the right places. Okay, so while we're waiting for my guest to come on, the next program is about the is about the film festival. So we have a dedicated film festival. Actually, so let me back up. Sorry. Okay, my guests are coming on. Perfect, great. So the Hollywood Silver Screen Festival, we have the Hollywood Silver Screen Festival have a special program that is dedicated to the parental alienation cause. So normally the film festival, and I think I will walk through that in a bit, but let me just introduce my guests. We have Rachel, who is one of the committee member for the film festival, and we have Alicia. We don't see you yet, Alicia. I know you're in the room.
We're here. I had the live playing on my Facebook browser, so I had to turn it off so I don't have feedback.
Okay, no worries.
I'm coming. Yeah. There we go.
Yay! Look at you! And I love that background. Look at that beautiful background behind you too.
Thank you. It's a little bit messy, but
it's nice. Okay, so Alicia is the chair for the special program for the committee. So the committee is created by a group of parents who are alienated parents. And this particular film festival, actually I should just pull up the slides instead of just talking. Okay, let me pull that up. Today is a fun day. A lot of technology navigation. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so hopefully this is visible to everyone. You guys can see it, right? The slide?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the Hollywood Silver Screen Festival have a special program dedicated to parental alienation awareness. And so let me explain. Hollywood Silver Screen Festival is an annual festival by the Hollywood Silver Screen Network. The network is normally a entertainment industry news and events platform. So it brings in celebrity and industry events and things like that. So normally the festival is an annual event. It's been running for 8 years. This is the 8th year that is running. It's usually in a huge, beautiful theaters you can see here, and bring in celebrities and from all walks of life. We have Oscar winner, Emmy winners. What you see here, like the Pointer sister, Bonnie Pointer, who actually just passed away recently. We have multiple Emmy movies that we screened that went on and won the Oscar and things like that. So it's a very well-established film festival. And so in this year, we thought that we would dedicate one particular special program of the festival to parental alienation awareness. And so the festival is going to be open for 2 weeks from tomorrow, April 26th to May 9th. And the links is there. We're going to also, if you are on our mailing list, we're also going to be sending out you guys a link so that you can actually how to get the ticket to watch the films. The tickets are free, entirely free. Anybody can get ticket, anybody can watch it. And so I'm going to let Rachel talk a little bit about this special program.
Okay, and obviously, you've already covered like the definition and everything around parental alienation for today.
No, you go ahead and take it on. Actually, we talk about solution. We never actually define what it is. So
just kind of where this came from. Yeah. So so the Hollywood Silver Screen Festival hosted a special program, obviously to bring public awareness to parental alienation. And parental alienation is what happens when a parent or someone maliciously brainwashes or influences or manipulates a child against the other parent, often in a bitter separation or divorce. And it's in an effort to basically destroy that sacred parent-child relationship. It's a covert form of child abuse and domestic violence. And it's often misunderstood that it's parental alienation is just a high conflict custody battle and by both parents, but in reality, it is one high conflict individual is the cause, and it can cause just devastating consequences for both the alienated children and the parents. So that's why Victim to Hero Institute and the Hollywood Silver Screen Festival hosts this special program to bring the awareness. This program invited submissions of films, videos, and commercials in all genres and lengths that bring awareness to parental alienation. The program was free to submit, and selected films are available, as Petra said, it's going to be available for public free viewing from April 25th today to May 9th. And so just to let you know some of the statistics, we received a lot of submissions, 614, with a total runtime of 276 hours from 86 countries and just about as many languages. So these submissions were diverse in project types, presentations, and genres. We received short films, feature-length films, animation, drama, action, horror, black and white, colors, silent films, and it goes on and on. So it was great. And from the pool of submissions, we had the difficult task of selecting 13 films to showcase for the festival. So that's
Thank you.
the whole gist.
Okay, so we're gonna go into the official selection of the Hollywood Silver Screen Festival, where we, like Rachel mentioned, we selected 13, right? So the first film.
Yes. I'll just mention this first one. It's 7 years minus 10 days, directed by Hamid Nouri. And just quickly, this was a short film about an Iranian mother who is prevented from seeing her son despite her custody rights. So according to Iranian laws, children's custody automatically goes to the fathers when the children turn 7 years old. So this father had just moved the child somewhere else and nobody was helping this woman. So it was a very moving film, and she does not even get to see her child, even though the child is not yet 7 years old. And the father does not even care about the child itself, because the child he's leaving with another abuser. So it's a great film that we were able to watch.
Thank you. Go ahead, Alicia.
This is Heaven Beneath My Feet, director Sandra Madi. This was like a perspective piece from the alienated child. And it was more artistic in the fact that it was showing her perception of feeling like she was being trapped. So it's like an expressive film that shows.
Okay, sorry.
I'm totally on the wrong film.
Sorry, yes, I just yeah. We watch a lot of films. So
It's the other one. This
yeah.
one.
Go ahead and take it back.
This one is a full-length documentary by the perspective of 3 Lebanese women, done by a Lebanese filmmaker, and it shows everything. It shows how the fathers have, again, rights over the children once they hit a certain age. The very beginning of this movie had me in tears because the mother has had to, the father flees to Germany with their child, and she has no choice but to plead asylum to be able to move to be closer, and she has to deal with the limitations of the social structure and the laws that are designed to keep them separate. And just like, she's living in government housing, and all she has is these little tiny pieces of her child, and she, holds on to them with a lot of memory. It's very factual. It was eye-opening to see that this is happening, more severely in other countries. It's a problem here, but it's also a problem in places where, there's more oppression. So, yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about this one.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And I mean, we see all type of problem, just like we see in our situation in the US, right? Where, you know, rights are being blatantly ignored and all that kind of problems. Yeah. Okay, so the next film is called Fortunate Son. And by the way, these films are not listed in any order. They are just randomly. And I think actually they are listed based on the time that the people submitted, actually, the order that they submitted initially. Because this is coming out from the system. We actually not sorting this in any particular order. But anyway, so this film is Fortunate Son by director Craig Douglas. This is a short film about an alienated father struggling to fight against parental alienation and ended up with a child abduction case. So his child was taken to another country and it led to his depression to the point that he decided to take his life. It's a tragic ending, and it's the kind of situations that a lot of alienated parents have felt, and we have seen some of our friends lost their lives because of parental alienation. So this is definitely hit home really hard for us.
And so the next one, I hope I'm going to be saying this correctly, is Homecoming, directed by Julia Cermelli. And this was a short film depicting an alienated child terrorized by his mother's voice in his head, repeatedly telling him how his father was not good enough and he will also be like his father and will never be good enough. This was a very artistically, well done movie or film. And I thought once again, when we're hit home with parental alienation, just what these children have to be going through, listening always just shows the impact, I think, over time, that it's not just a one time, it's this continual thing that really affects the children. So I thought we really enjoyed watching this one as well.
This one is Esperado and Nico, director Octavio Mea Rocha. It's a short film, documentary style, about a movement that an alienated father started in his home country, putting out balloons in a way of supporting, bringing together parents that are facing the same problem. I like this because it showed exactly what Victim to Hero stands for. It's like that transmutation of our grief into an expression of joy and hope that can expand outside of ourselves. So I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, it's such a powerful activist film, definitely. Yeah. The next film is A Trial Before Monsoon. It's by director Shadham Sanjay Shivade. And this film is a short film that is about a story of a father that is using his terminal cancer illness to guilt the daughter into become the lawyer for his divorce from the mother of the child. So putting the child in the middle of the parents' conflict. And on a minor note, we also noticed, the daughter has left home very early and wanted an independent life. And we heard this narrative that the mother is controlling, and we hear the father said that, but the only interaction that we saw in the film of the mother is a loving mother. So we could kind of guess that the father really played a role in that false narrative in the child's mind. So anyways, this is again another film that is very touching for us, that is definitely on the point in terms of parental alienation.
And yes, the next one, 1 Second, directed by Tom Vogel. And this is, another tragic story of how a mother uses the daughter as a weapon to punish the father for his affair. And just, once again, it's just a very awful but on point of what sometimes does happen with parents that, they forget their children are, these people and just take them as pawns and will want to hurt their own children or, eliminate their own children just to get back at the other parent. So it was very good but tragic story to watch.
This is The Dead Flowers of Spring, director Paul Sanchez Mas. This is more of a reunification tale. There is when the abuser is out of the picture, how to rebuild a relationship that has been estranged for so long. It's a short film, but it shows like the dynamic in the after effect, like how do we repair this, after time has passed.
The next film is called Dear Mom by director Daniline Iversen. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. This film is a short film about a daughter that writes to her mother every day for 2 years, while the father said that the mother has suddenly abandoned them. And every day, the father would convince the child that the mother doesn't want anything to do with the children and that the mother will never respond to them. The children later discovered the truth, and it's a shocking truth. And I'll let you watch the film to find out. But essentially, the father was so jealous of the children's love for the mother that he went to the extent of harming the mother to destroy that mother-children relationship in order to feel better about himself. So it's clear that this film is by a young filmmaker, a debut film for a young filmmaker, but we definitely applaud the effort here.
And the next one, You're Not Bloody Useless by director Alexander Pearson. And this was a short documentary, more of an interview style of an alienated child who's now an adult, and just reflecting back on the fear and pressure that was placed on him by his father to reject his mother. And just, it touches on, just thinking about all the films as we're reviewing them right now, they really all do touch on all various aspects. So it's a really great range. This particular one just touches on false memories and how the father was told he was forbidden to speak to his mother, and he was scared, the fear that a parent puts in them, and also just somehow split that memory until much later. And yeah, so it was a sweet documentary to watch, and heartbreaking as well for any of these children that have to go through this.
Okay, so As Long as the Heart Beats, my apologies, director Premslav Kolpak. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing it. This is the one I was thinking about earlier. This is the one that's the artistic piece from the perspective of like a fractured mental plane of an alienated child, and just the depictions of the progression of like the funeral progression, just to show the severing of that mother-child bond. It's really powerful. I really appreciated the artistic flair to this film.
The next film is called Desire by director Miguel Martin. I think I don't know if that's the right way of pronouncing it. This is a short film that depicts the desire that an alienated father has to see his child. Just heartbreaking desperation. He was trying so hard, and he was not going to give up no matter what, despite the mother, the alienator, and the stepfather and the police force trying to intervene. He did everything he could, and we see the kind of alienating behavior, where the father buy a birthday gift for the child, and then that get thrown in the trash. It's just heartbreaking situation. And you see how the father, when the father see another child on the street or in the shop, it brings tears. It's a trigger for the father. It's the kind of story that we all relate to as an alienated parent. We definitely see, from the collage of photos, we do see the prior loving relationship that this father had with the child. So this is a loving father. We're not talking about an abusive father. And yet now we're seeing a situation where the father can't even see the child. So it's really heartbreaking.
And this one is Dear God, A Story of Black Boy Joy from director Vincent J. Walker. And this was it was a short film as well about the alienated child perspective, and just listening in his mind of just words from his mother screaming to tell the father to go away, then telling the child the father abandoned them and is not going to be around. And again, just that struggle that these children, the continuous messaging they're constantly receiving and how it affects them.
So we're gonna go into the award announcement. I'm gonna get Alicia to do the announcement, but I just want to kind of touch on the judging criteria. I think Alicia is gonna explain to you how challenging it has been for the whole entire committee when it comes to judging. But there are 3 criteria that we use to determine the awards. One is to meet with the festival theme, which is to bring awareness to parental alienation. The second criteria is the storytelling. We're looking at the structure of the story. We're looking at the hero versus the villain. We're looking at the hero's journey, things like that. And then how the story is being revealed. And then the third criteria that we look at is production value. The lighting, the camera movement, the camera angle, the composition of the shot, the audio quality, the sound composition, the music used, things like that. So these are the 3 criteria that we use. And I wanted to mention that there are prizes for the winners. So the first place is going to get the Red Giant Magic Bullet Suite. This is valued at $899 and a lifetime backstage casting access. Now, for people that are in the film industry, you understand what this is about. Red Giant Magic Bullet Suite is for editing your film, and casting, obviously, if you are making film, you're going to need to cast actor. You need to go find actors. And so with this lifetime access, you're going to be able to cast actor for free for life. And the second prize is a 1 DCP creation. Now, again, for filmmakers, this is very important. When your film go into the theaters, the film that you are making in your computer is not going to be suitable for theater projection. And so with the digital film format, for a lot of filmmakers, we would understand this is to go into the theater, you need to create a DCP creation from that film, and that can cost a lot of money. So the second prize here is 1 DCP creation up to 2.5 hours, and this is valued at $750. And again, also a lifetime backstage casting access. And I'm sorry, it's not the first place, it's the third place. The last line, that's a mistake right there. The third place is a lifetime backstage casting access. And I would like to thank our sponsor for this, Red Giant and Auto DCP and Backstage. We are very grateful to our sponsor for these prizes. I know that I forget something here. Oh, yes. And also, like I mentioned, maybe I didn't mention, but we are an IMDb qualified film festival. That means that the winners will get also listed on the IMDb for their prizes as well. Okay, so I think I'm going to let Alicia go and explain hopefully she can, the challenges that we face when we're going through these films.
Well, I mean, I have no experience. This is I'm a mom, and this was a great project for me, and just the overwhelming amount of submissions that came in, and just like seeing, there's so many social issues in the world right now, and film is such a powerful medium to share your message. Like, we received 614 films from people all over the world. So, going through and realizing like these outside of parental alienation, different manifestations of trauma that are affecting people everywhere. Like, it was hard to say no when, just the synopsis hits your heartstrings. But we did it. We had some great conversations, and, we're happy to bring the ones forward to you that met the criteria. It was an interesting experience for sure.
Okay, so do you want to take it from here, Alicia?
The honorable mentions we've chosen are The Dead Flowers of Spring, directed by Paul Sanchez-Maz, and As Long as the Heart Beats, directed by Przemysław Kopacz. And the winners.
Drum roll.
Yay!
Exactly.
So in third place, Esperanto Anico, director Octavia Maya Roja. Second place, 7 years minus 10 days, director Hamid Nouri.
Woo!
Yay, thank you.
Yay! And the first
And
place.
the winner. First place goes to Heaven Beneath My Feet by director Sandra Madi for her full-length documentary. Thank you for all of the submissions.
Thank you so much, everyone, and congratulations to all the filmmakers to be selected to the one of the 13 films out of the 614 is huge. We appreciate all the submission. We are so grateful, and I know that there's few people in the chat room that mentioned some other films. Yeah, the film festival is open worldwide for people to submit, and there's no limitation in terms of the genre, the type, or the length, or anything. We will open worldwide, and it's entirely free for filmmakers from around the world to submit, and we only screen the film that's submitted, obviously. So yeah, there are people that in the chat room that mentioned that there's some other films. Yeah, we understand. I think there's definitely going to be more film out there about parental alienation. We really hope there's going to be a lot more out there. But yeah, we were able to select 13 out of these, so congratulations, and we are so grateful for you to be a part of this. And yeah, congratulations to the winners.
Yes.
Yay. And thank you so much, Alicia and Rachel and the rest of the community. You know,
Thank you.
they work, you guys have no idea, 278 hours of runtime. Okay? So a lot of screening time that they're sitting there watching. It's a lot. So thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so thank you, you guys. I'm gonna check
Thank
to
you.
see what the next
Thank you.
session is. All right. Okay. So the next section is gonna be about thank you, Rachel and Alicia. I'm gonna bring on my next guest. The next session is gonna be
Bye.
about proclamation. Hi, bye, thank you. Sorry, I'm kicking people out, and I'm again have to bring on my guests because I again send my guests to the wrong places. So let me go and get them back. And thank you, you guys, for watching and being so patient and so supportive. Thank you. Let me get a guest. Okay. Okay, let me just see if I can find. Okay, we're getting people. Come on. One more. Let's see. Okay, my guests are coming on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna step away from the camera to get my proclamation to show. Be right back. Okay, let's just give other people a second to get on. Ifan, I don't know how to say your name correctly. I apologize. I sent a wrong link. So Claudia, if she could give you a new link. Okay, Michael, I am sorry. Let me give Michael a new link. I am sending everyone to the wrong address today. So let me just make sure everyone get their way back. Okay, Michael, I just sent you a new link. Please jump on the call. I think we're missing one more person. Okay, I think we have everyone. Okay, all right. I'm gonna leave this to Claudia. Do you want to explain what the proclamation is and what this is about?
Yeah, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
So the proclamation is recognition of this day in your city or town. I learned about it a few years ago. I'd never known about it. So when I was experiencing this, I wanted to continue doing it. The parent that was in San Antonio, she previously did it and she moved out of the area. And somehow we met and we met online and things like that. And so I took over for her and she continued it where she was in California. She was on the Zoom call once with Petra before. Her name's Shelly. And so I just took over here in San Antonio and I just continue to encourage parents to do it. Honestly, to me, this really makes me proud that I'm continuing to recognize the day. So when I get the proclamation, whether it's in a digital copy or a paper form, I really, I'm just really proud that I was able to do this for the city. And so I encourage small towns, surrounding towns to also do it because it just, when you request this, you don't know if you're requesting it through an individual that is not aware that this is happening. And so when that request passes on, whether it's a new elected official or mayor, you're making them aware, you're educating them that this is really happening, and it's just spreading awareness. So again, I encourage parents to continue to do it. It just takes sending off a request and following up. I started mine in February, but I know a lot of parents got pushback and the whole COVID thing kind of got in the way of requests. But if you do it early and you just continue to follow up on the status, even if it means going down to the mayor's office to pick it up, asking for it to be mailed to you, a digital copy, whatever you can do to get it. Again, it's just a form of recognition for the day, and it means a lot. And I have two. I have one from last year and this year, and I have them in my office, and when I can share them with someone, I do, because they're really fancy the way that they do these. And again, I'm just really proud to be able to do this. I really am.
So what the proclamation say is essentially it say that that city or that town or that government organization recognize that parental alienation is something that is harmful for children and for family, and they want to recognize that today is a Parental Alienation Awareness Day. So what we have here are a few people that have got the proclamations back from their localities, right? Why don't we take turn and introduce the city that we calling from and what proclamation you got? Kimberly, do you want to pick it up?
Sure. Hi, my name is Kimberly Dial. I am currently in Locust Grove, Georgia, and I was able to, in a matter of 2 weeks, get 4 proclamations signed by the mayors. And with that, I also was able to get news articles. So if the mayor pushes back on this because they're not familiar with it, I share links and articles with them. And then I also let them know that this would be a really good PR thing for them to make the community aware of what parental alienation is. And it has worked out beautifully. Like I said, I've gotten 4 proclamations. We put banners up in every town hall that signed, and we also were able to get a local newspaper to do a story to make the community aware. And so that's where I started. Then from there, I went to all of the schools and the 4 counties that I got the proclamation signed in, and got the email addresses of the principals, assistant principals, counselors, and then send a blast every day this week to them to let them know that parental alienation is a form of child abuse. And if you're going to recognize child abuse in the month of April, you need to go ahead and consider parental alienation a part of that, as well as emailing the DHS in your local city. So that's what I was able to accomplish.
That's awesome. Do you have it there with you? Can you show us?
I do. Yes. So this one is from McDonough, Georgia. Let me see if you can see it. And it just pretty much just says it's the proclamation, Parental Alienation Day, and Bubbles of Love Day. And do you want me to read it or?
No, that's okay. Just show us. Yeah.
So this is the city of McDonough, and the mayor was more than grateful to do this. This one is the city of Jackson, Georgia. And Miss Kay Pippin, she was also honored to be a part of such because she understands that not all abuse is physical. This is the Locust Grove, City of Locust Grove proclamation. And Robert Price was very honored to be a part of this as well. And the last one that I have is for the city of Griffin, and they sent me a digital copy, therefore I cannot share it. But all articles are on Facebook in the cities that we did it in, and also there's news articles that went out Saturday. And all banners were put up, and we are actually doing bubbles today at all locations.
That is fantastic. That's such a great work of public awareness. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank y'all.
Yeah, what about a fan? Do you want to pick that up? Oh, I think he's driving. I'll let you when you can pull up. I think you're muted. Yeah, when you pull over, that's okay. Michael, do you want to pick it up?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to be a tough act to follow because I just have one proclamation. But I recently moved to Austin, so I'm in Austin, Texas, and but I worked on a proclamation from the city I was in previously, which is Round Rock, Texas. I don't know if you can see it.
Very nice.
Yeah, they're very nice. They got a little stamp on it, or gold stamp, and everything else. And other than that, I've been trying to actively, work on the House bill in the state of Texas, the Assembly, trying to get that passed, because that would be instrumental, I think, not just to Texas, but to the whole community.
Thank you. Yeah, Michael has been very proactive in lobbying for the HB 2153, which is a bill that will put parental alienation as a form of child abuse in Texas. So thank you so much, Michael. He pulled a big group of parents behind him, and we are trying to get meetings with House reps and senators. And yeah, Michael has been really proactive in that. Thank you, Michael. So, Afan, can you?
Yes, I'm waiting for an exit. I'm going to. Can you hear me?
Take your time. Yeah, take your time. Don't.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to stop to show the proclamation, but let me tell you. Okay, you guys know my name is Irfan Ateshnak. I'm from Florida, and I am with togetherforchanges.org, and I am doing the best I can to make some changes. And I think with my passion, I'm going to shake the nation. Anyway, so I got 2 proclamations. I applied for here from 2 of the mayors yet. I will follow up with them, but I got it from Mayor Brown, city of Weston, Florida. And I actually met them in the city hall the other day and gave everyone a speech. And I found out a lot of alienated parents, they didn't know what it was about coercive control and emotional abuse. So I am invited to go back, and which I will go maybe once a month or twice a month to educate. And we are planning an event right here in Western Town Center to bring awareness to a lot of young adults and parents, and trying to basically build up a network. And I only received the one from Mayor Brown from Weston. I'll show it to you. And I'm also getting one from City of Fort Lauderdale from Mayor Trent Ellis. and I just have to pick it up in next week because they were not available. But let me show you the one I got from City of the Weston. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll open it up. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right.
We don't see the bottom. Show us the bottom of it, like the stamp. Oh, that stamp. Yeah, I love the stamp. It's always very pretty. Yeah.
Thank you. So 2 for sure, and hopefully I might get more, but I wasn't able to hear from some of the other mayors, from Davie and Pines. But anyway, so thank you for giving the chance to explain this. I truly appreciate it. And thank you, Claudia, because I'm driving for a meeting, believe it or not. This is for my organization, and I don't stop. And I think that we should not stop. And my belief is this, that if child abuse still continues, that means we as adults, we're not doing good enough job to stop it. And we have to do a better job to stop child abuse, because emotional abuse is one of the worst. Probably, I think is the worst, if you ask me personally. The effects last lifetime. And the court system absolutely does nothing for the best interest of the children. They work for the best interest of the abuser, regardless you're a mother or a father. When you are fighting for your child, they know you need to continue fighting for your child. They delay process. They delay, and at the same time, when the child is in the hands of the abuser, we got 22 million Americans right now, only in this country, in our country. And I have 3 children I cannot see, and they're talking about 13 million children, but I think that's not really, I think there's a lot more. If you think about there's 2 child per family, maybe they're not so severe like most of them, some of them, but we're talking probably more than 40 million children are psychological hostages. They are being held in the hands of perpetrators and coercive control. It's just, this has got to stop. We need to just truly shake this country. We need to all rise and speak up. I think we, the people, can make changes. We're not going to sit down and wait for this senators, lawmakers to make changes. It's not going to happen unless we, all of us, basically just rise and make sure that they hear us. They hear us, parents. We need grandparents, young adults. This is truly a court appointed, court agreed child abuse. Basically, you know, it's system create conflicts, and they make money off it, which is truly sad. You know, I know, you know, shared parenting is, of course, is what we all support, but how can you have shared parenting with a parent who doesn't want the other parent to have a relationship with a child? So we need to bring strong laws. We need to make sure, you know, this type of high conflict divorces involving children should not drag too long, because the more it drags, the more pressure on children. And it should be solved through mediation in the presence of experts as soon as possible, without letting the court get the case, because when the court gets the case, court just delay process, and everything is so slow in family court. We are dealing with judges, we are dealing with the legal advisors who have no clue what parental alienation or emotional abuse or coercive control is, or system is in the hands of, shortly I can say, we are dealing with professional ignorance. And if we are living in the best country in the world, as we claim, we should have the best protection plan for the children. So anyway, I could talk for days on this one. So
thank you.
So thank you. It's nice meeting you. Nice talking to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. What about Prof?
Hey, how we doing, Doc? How's everybody doing?
Good, Prof.
I want to thank everybody for going out and fighting for this cause, because it's a cause that affects way too many people. And I'm in agreement with the gentleman that just came before me. I think there's a lot more than what we can really look at, what people actually state. I agree with what he said. We're dealing with professional ignorance, but I think it's more like professional people that actually know what this is, and they're doing it maliciously, because this is something, and that's my opinion. I think the root and where it can be stopped and where parental alienation starts is with those people that have the gavel. And once that gavel hits that wood, you know exactly where it's going, and they know what they're doing, and they really do not care about what is the best interest for the child. Unbeknownst to the fact that that's what they say, right? That it's always for the best interest. I'm from Laredo, Texas. We've been dealing with it. Well, I dealt with it on a personal basis. And I understood what it was, and I fought it from day one. It's been dealing with it for probably about 8.5 years. It's minute now because of the court has basically stopped a lot of things. It's a lot of sleepless nights and waking up and saying good morning to a pictures, so I know what people deal with, and I know what it's all about. Keep fighting, keep your head up, do not go underwater. There's a lot of us here that if you need help, we can help you whichever way, at least to vent. In Laredo, we started back when Claudia told me, back probably in February. Last week, we're just going to have a group with everybody kind of during the week to bring the mayor to give it out. When I called them to see what was going on, they said they were not going to give it to us because somebody had called and said there was no factual organization. And I said, where is it now? It's in legal. And I go, well, let me send legal a couple of things, and they have to add a couple of things. So here it is now, right? We have it. So it's from Laredo. We just had to add a couple of things to it. Okay.
Show us the bottom, the whole. There you go. No, move to the other side a little bit more. The stamp. Yeah. Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get some copies for you all, and I'll send you one, Petra, and I'll send you one, Claudia, and I'll send the other organizations that have been fighting for this cause. It's everybody together fighting for one thing, and that's for sanity of our children and of our children's children as well. Because we've already going through this. Some of us have years to follow. Some of us are in the lag stage, about to end it, but it's still there. I do not want the courts to damage any of my kids, and not yours as well. So the fight is still in there, and I know some of you all are going to be going to Austin tomorrow, and those watching, good luck. It's a big fight.
Thank you.
No, thank you all.
Okay, I'm gonna show mine. Or Claudia, do you want to go first? It's up to you.
Sure. I'm in San Antonio. This was mine, but it's pretty long. It's a little bit longer than just an average size piece of paper. So that's why when I see it in the mail, I know what it is, because it's just a longer size. But there's that seal, and normally when I ask for a digital copy. That way I can also share it with others or post it online. This time I asked for a digital copy too late, but it was in black and white. So that's okay. But at least I got the hard copy. And I haven't framed it yet, but like I said, I think it's just really nice to be proud of your effort to, request it and follow through. So I'll be doing it from here on out. I really will. So thanks for letting me share it.
Thank you. And this is mine. Again, also like Claudia, is like a lot bigger than the typical size. And like I said, I love this here. It looks so beautiful. And yeah, I'm gonna get it framed. It just, I haven't got a chance to frame it yet. But yeah, everyone should get this. Everyone should get it from no matter where you are. And look at any entities that you can get. You do have to kind of get organized early. So, because we want to get it by today, which is Parental Alienation Awareness Day, you need to kind of ask for it at least a month in advance, because, you're working with, the government organization. They take time. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing the proclamation. And we're going to have the next panel. Well, I already have some of my guests here, so that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Irfan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Petra, for everything.
Thank you all for everything you all are doing. Much peace. Stay safe.
you. All right, I think I'm missing one guest. I'm missing one more person. Give me just 1 second. I want to make sure. I know that he was on the other link. Today I have sent all of my speaker into wrong places. So okay. Yeah, I'm missing one person. I'm sorry. I'm missing one person from South Africa. Let me see if I can choose. Wrangle. And this is the last panel of the day, it's the last session. So we're almost over. Let's see if we can find him. Yeah. All right. I think we can just start, and then hopefully he can join us. Are we still live? Have I lost the? Oh, I am okay, good. Okay. Anyway, so welcome. So now we have a new panel, and this is a panel that is representing, again, talking about solution. We're going to focus on solution to parental alienation, but we're looking at the international perspective. So I have with me here a panel of advocates internationally, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I know that we're missing one person, and it's my fault because I sent a wrong link. And if we can't get that person on today, then I'll make sure I follow up with that person and bring that person on another time. But for today, why don't we start with, how do I say your name, Inbo? Is that right?
Yes, Inbal.
Inbal, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, would you please introduce yourself and your organization?
Sure. My name is Inbal Shani Greenberg. I'm from Israel. I'm one of the founders of the Israeli nonprofit organization against parental alienation. And I was formerly an alienated mother myself. I reunited with my twin boys 5 years ago.
Oh, how wonderful. Congratulations. That is such a good news to hear. It's amazing. Yeah. What about Jen? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jan James. I'm CEO for Good Egg Safety. We're a non-profit community interest company covering UK. And we set up the Parental Alienation UK brand about 2 years ago. I too watched alienation fairly closely for 7 years previously and saw the devastation it wreaked onto beautiful children I happen to have grown to love. So that's why we've set up in the UK.
Thank you. And then Ricardo.
Good night, I'm Ricardo from Portugal. I'm president of the board of Portuguese Equal Parenting and Children's Rights Association. And we are an organization of fathers and mothers and adult children that suffer from divorce, parental alienation, and generally conflicts, parenting conflicts. That's it.
Thank you. And I also wanted to acknowledge that Ricardo had been partnering with us and allowing us to stream our content syndicate our content through his audience, so that actually our events from now on are being shared with his audience so that the message spread wider. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, Ricardo. Okay, so let's talk about solution. What again, take turns. So let's look at solution from the personal level. What do you think is the solution needed for solving parental alienation?
Education and support. For me, that's the two main things we are working on with parents, family members, and grown-up kids, and professionals, actually. Educating professionals and supporting victims.
Thank you. Actually, that's exactly what we're doing at Victim to Hero too. Educational, give the parents a tool and provide support so that they can have the hope and then they can use the tool to save themselves. What about you, Jen? What do you think the solution is in the individual level?
Well, I think firstly, we need a recognition in a societal level of what it is, so that parents can identify what it is when it's happening. Many of them have never heard of it before. They're suddenly confronted with children. They had previously a warm, close, loving relationship, and suddenly those children start becoming hostile to them post-separation or divorce. So education, as Imbos said, is very important, but as a societal level as well, it's critical. And we would say that the first thing is to actually be very careful about the partner that you choose to have children with. I mean, we always say before you get married or you join a relationship, you want to know whether the other partner wants to have children, because it's kind of a major mismatch if one wants children and the other doesn't. But the other burning question is, what happens if we split up? I bet we never ask our partners that. What happens if we split up? What happens to the children? And I think it's really important that the education element is what to look for with a partner, because obviously once you're in the fog of chemistry, you might not be looking too closely, but you really need to know the background to the partner that you may end up having children with. Were they alienated themselves as a child, for example? Because we know that alienating children may well then manifest the behaviors of the alienating parent with whom they had most power and control over, and therefore may be more likely to become an alienator themselves should that marriage or relationship fail. Also, if they themselves were alienated, they might choose a parent that has a partner that has, alienating behaviors. So it's actually from the very beginning, having awareness of what it is, how damaging it is to children, and making sure that from a personal level, that the partner that you choose to be with is not going to be a potential alienator. That's critical.
Thank you. Actually, that's such a good point. And by the way, how do I say your name? Roellen? Is that right?
Rolene.
Rolene, thank you, Rolene. Yes, welcome. And so now all of my guests are here, despite my misdirection. Thank you so much, and I apologize. I'm so glad that you made it here. But yeah, thank you, Jen. That's such a good point. Bringing awareness and then having that education so that parents and people actually recognize the partner that you're going to potentially have children with. Having the right. And it's well known, it's well established through research that it's a transgenerational problem.
Yes.
Right. So yeah. So clearly, that's so important. Roland, do you want to introduce yourself and your organization?
Sure. Thank you. Is my microphone clear enough?
It's pretty good. Maybe if you can make it any louder, but I think it's pretty good.
All right. My name is Rolene Watson, and I am from the Parental Alienation Foundation of South Africa. I'm also an attorney by trade. I run my own law firm, Watson Law Incorporated in Pretoria, and I basically specialize in family law matters. The foundation that we run, we basically aim to promote equal and joint co-parenting and to create awareness in general about the effects of mental and psychological abuse on children.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We in South Africa, as a developing country, we are a bit behind, especially after I had a bit of a chat with Imbal and with Ricardo previously and with yourself. I realized that as a developing country, we have a lot more obstacles and hurdles to overcome when it comes to psychological and mental abuse of children, especially also because of the cultural differences in our country and because of the problems regarding financial constraints and also an educational gap, as well as there's just too many cooks in this country. We've got too many people trying to make a difference on their own because there's a culture of holding on to information instead of sharing information. And that unfortunately inevitably leads to little clusters of people trying to do their own thing and trying to make a difference on their own, whilst there is such amazing power in numbers. And if we all just stand together, then we can actually make a real and honest and true difference. So that's why we started this foundation. I started it with my husband, and the basic idea behind it is to grab everybody trying to work on this problem and to get everybody together in numbers in our country to reach the goals that I'm sure all of the foundations that have teamed up in this project that we actually managed to attain those goals. And that's my 2 cents on my foundation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ricardo, do you want to take on the question about what would be the solution at the personal level?
Well, of course, not all of us we don't live alone. We live in a society, so any solution is not just on a personal level. Even when we talk about getting help, it's not a personal level. But I will try to say that the first thing, and based on our experience, is that the knowledge of the problem from the person that already was said here is important. And the support groups, we have support groups from 11 years, have been a great help for fathers and mothers to dealing with this situation, because many think they are alone. And so when they get together with another parents, they understood they are not alone, and they start the process to acknowledge this behavior that is destructive, that destroys families. And when I say families, is the family of the child. And that's the first step. So acknowledge. And the second issue on a personal level that we advise people is to separate the court procedures from what we can do at individual level. I see most of the speech of the persons, and I could see in the panel before, is very focused on courts. Courts is just one part of our life. It's like even parenting is just a part of our life. We usually say you are more than being parents. You are a human being with different dimensions of your life. You should live your life independently if you have this huge problem. So the second issue to individual level is to separate the court procedures to what we can do to reach our children. And there is a lot of things that people don't know that they can do without the court. And on the support groups, we usually find with each other solutions to get to our children. Small things like I will say the obvious ones, like going to the school every day and just be there, saying nothing, but just be there for our child to see us. You people would say, but I could not talk with my child, but for him or her is very important to see, for them to see us, that we still care about them, because they don't hate us. They do all this process of alienating as a mechanism of defense. So there is a lot we can do individual level on relating the relationship with our children. And the other thing that we should do is, of course, we go to court, but that's a process that we should take with serenity, if you want. And many of the problems is that we cannot control ourselves. And for me, this is also identity problem in our societies. And I don't think it's only the issue of if you are a developing country. We are in all we can see in our international poster that we did. We have 30 countries, and most of them are from the rich countries, and we have huge problems with this. So it's not a question if you are developed or not developed country. So it's a process that we are in the West changing, because we can see that we don't have this problem in Asia or even in Russia, but most of African countries we don't have, because it's also a gender issue, because the equality between women and men in family is doesn't exist. So we are in a process in the West that fathers and mothers are more equal in a relationship. And so when, for example, when you think about education, parenting education, for example, that's a thing that means that we didn't prepare when our children to deal with equality, because when we have an equal relationship between a father and a mother, means that we have to negotiate every day, and we don't know how to do that, most of them. So this is, if we want to solve this individual problem, we have to go back and learn that boys and girls have to negotiate, and there is no winners or losers as in the past. And we can see in the most of African countries and Asian countries and Russia that the structure of the family is also responsible for not seeing the conflicts, because the conflicts usually are solved by one that have more power than the other. But in the West, what is happening is that we are balance the power between men and women in the family, and that cause problems, especially when we divorce, and we don't know how to resolve these conflicts. So we need tools, individual tools, and that should be done when we are children. That's why for us is very important. I know that I'm going to individual to society, but for us is very important, for example, share physical custody or parenting leave equal. When the child is born, father and mother will be present the same months with the child. Why? Because the child will grow up seeing equal behaviors. They both care about the children. They both do things for the children. And if he grows up like that, he will going to be when they get to the divorce, they will have also a more, if you want, civilized negotiation of the separation or divorce.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ricardo. And actually, that was an interesting international perspective, because you definitely point out something that is really interesting, which is the American culture is a very, we have a very litigative culture. Everyone is suing each other. Anybody can sue anybody, and people jumping to sue people very quickly. So it's a very sort of high conflict kind of environment. So that's a good point. That's why we do have at Victim to Hero, we have a model for parents to that we help parents to resolve the situation, and it's a 5-facet model. And actually the first one is themselves, like living their full life. And then the divorce, like the court, is actually only one of the 5, is not this whole thing. And then the next thing is actually your relationship with your child. That is not even the first one. The first one is yourself, and then the second one is a relationship with your child, and then the next one is how do you deal with the alienator, how do you deal with that conflict, and then how do you deal with the court and the system, like the school and the teacher and all and the doctors and all that. And then the next thing is, how do you deal with the community? Because, you know, you have church, you have neighbors, you have extended family, you have friends, that kind of things. So we have that 5-facet model. And yeah, what you were just talking about, like, you know, it's not just about fighting in court. It's not just about being a parent. And I totally agree with that. Something that Ricardo brought up was and it's perfect timing. I did want to show that. Was Ricardo was the person that orchestrated this huge collaborative effort, and you see here, and you can see that on our Facebook page too, is this poster that has 54, is that right, Ricardo? 54 organization. It's a huge collaboration of 54 organizations that we together stand together to fight against parental alienation. And this came from I don't know how many countries and all the 5 continents, right?
Yeah, 30 countries, 5 continents, and 64 organizations.
Yeah, so that's huge. And yeah, like I said, you can see this on our Facebook page. You can see it on our partners' Facebook page, and as this is being shared around. And that is to celebrate today and to show that we all together join forces. Roland, I know you came in a little bit later, but the question that we are discussing right now is what do you see as a solution at the personal level for parents? Do you want to add something?
I don't know if it's probably been said already, but I am a very firm believer in mandatory co-parenting workshops and training for parents, whether it's at separation stage or divorce stage, basically to assist them in order to know how to breach the subject of contact and how to discuss it with the children. Also, the distance co-parenting concept, where, say, for instance, one parent moves away into another country or another province, how to facilitate contact, and basically just impressing the urgency or the importance of that facilitation, and getting people to understand the fact that when you separate, when the parents separate, it's not about the parents anymore. The moment the parents had the child, and that actually comes into what Jan said about choosing your partner. The moment you choose to have children, it stops becoming about you. It stops being about you. It's all about that child. The child didn't ask to be here. So that's why we advocate, and there's actually a lady by the name of Matilda Smith in Cape Town, and I refer a lot of my clients to her for this workshop that she offers. And these days with the COVID thing, she does it online, and I've heard great things about it. And the sad thing is that there's a lot of people that don't even know that this kind of workshop or training exists. That's a major thing. And then the other thing from our side is we believe that education and training regarding spotting, issue spotting, and trying to, being able to see, not just calling everything alienation, because everything is not necessarily alienation, and not crying wolf all the time. That type of thing is important to us regarding medical and legal practitioners working with families and with children. And we believe that people such as the central authorities, and we call them family advocates, have to be assessed in order to understand whether or not these people are capable of actually identifying this problem. That's basically what I have to say.
Thank you so much. Inbo, do you want to add anything else to that, or do you want to jump to the next question, which is what the solution would be at the industry level? I know that, some of us have already discussed the whole big picture, so feel free to just jump in with other levels as well.
Okay, I'll just, on the personal level, just say that I definitely agree with Ricardo about the things we can do as parents and family members outside the court system. For some reason, we are waiting for somebody to rescue us, and we keep like sitting outside the closed door, not doing the things that we can do. And in that field, there's a lot to do, and we do it in educating parents about the way, the creatives way, not just the normal thing you would do in order to reach out to your kids. On the industry level, I must say that in Israel, we did very hard work on legislation in that field of contact between parents and children. And in the past year, we have a new procedure where parents can go to court if there is no contact or disruption of the parent-child contact. And a hearing must be done in 14 days, which is something great when you're dealing with parental alienation. And
Wow,
it's
14 days.
14 days, yes.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Yes, actually the media helped us a lot in this campaign. We managed to do a documentary series using our parents' stories, and it helped the family court make a decision that they must change the procedure for situation where there is no contact between parents and kids.
Brilliant.
That's amazing. Thank you. I think we need more of that everywhere, because dragging through, like parents, I mean, we hear story of parents going through courts for years, in and out of court. So 14 days is incredible. Thank you. What about anybody else want to jump in for solution at other level?
Can I just pick up from what Rolene was saying? And I think it's really important. It's not, once you've had the children, it's not about the parents' rights anymore. And certainly when you get to family courts in the UK, the Children's Act of 1989 moved the responsibility really away from the parents to the child. So it's all about the child's best interest. And what we have to understand is it's always in a child's best interest to have both safe parents in their life. All the evidence shows that. I cannot actually, as a campaigner, a social marketer, I cannot believe that we're even having this conversation. It takes two parents to bring a child into this world, and two parents generally are highly emotionally invested in their children. There was a great quote from the legendary powerhouse Dr. Patricia Crittenden, who developed the DMM model, which is like very much attachment-based model. I think it stood for dynamic, I'm looking down at my note here, dynamic maturational model of attachment and adaptation. She gave a beautiful quote. And what she said was this: a society that values its children must cherish its parents. Parents are the only resource who are wholly committed to each specific child, and the only resource not subjected to government cutbacks. And in hard times especially, we cannot afford to lose this resource. Beautifully written. Children need both parents, and all the evidence shows. Linda Nielsen, there were 60 studies, many of them peer-reviewed, showed that children that had at least 35% time with the other parent performed as well on all the key indicators we would wish to see for children, emotionally, educationally, neurologically, physically, as children in intact families. Now, we're seeing in the UK, half of all marriages end up in divorce. So we have to protect the children, and it starts with that. It's recognizing the vital importance of both safe parents. And when we do that, we wouldn't be looking at 1 in 6 children with mental health disorders in the UK. That's unconscionable, and it needs to be dealt with really quickly.
Thank you.
So well, I think the industry as a whole have to shift completely the paradigm. So, but that's the problem. It's we in all countries cannot do that, because the economical interests and even the professional interests that are installed is very, very difficult to change. So because we need a new paradigm that bets on the prevention and not on trying to solve something that is already installed, the conflict. So so this is just doesn't work. So we need first to take out of the system a lot of small cases of parenting conflicts that can be solved very easily with a new structure that are near the families or the family of the child. Is many of them are very simple to solve, and then leave to the court just the complicated ones. And for that, we need also a new kind of service. And of course, there is some all over the world, the United States, Canada, and UK, Germany, Spain, and many other countries are trying to a local level different approaches. But we need to find a good model. We have the Cochem Zell model in Germany, but that worked with one judge. So with that, the judge also here in Portugal, we have like one judge that do things in a certain way, but that's not a reform. We need a reform that all judges can do have similar behaviors. So but the first thing is prevention, and we can do that. We can do that with, once again, the issue of the young children grow up in a more equal environment. They see father and mother taking care in equal time or equal way of them. That's one thing. And then we need to help the adults one to know how to negotiate. Mediation is very important. If we talk about the parenting programs, about the parenting competence, and of course we need more technicians, professionals near the families, and not near the court, if you want. We have here, for example, one psychologist that I know, and is very rare. For example, she goes to the house of the family. She don't wait for you to take the children to her office. No, she going to see how the children behave in the setting. And we need that. We need, because otherwise we will not change the behavior of the family. So in a certain way, what I'm saying is prevention, doing things first before starts, and then if there is no chance, then we need service that are more near the family to help that family to solve the problems. Of course, we have in the United States and Sweden, here in Europe, and even in some regions of Spain, the parenting coordinator. But I think it's still in the first steps, even in the United States. But we need something like that, like someone that really really near the family,
Truly mutual.
the family, yes, help the family to solve that small problems,
Right.
not to escalate.
Right. I think what Ricardo pointing to is an adversarial system where the system is promoting litigation and conflict. And in particularly, like the way that it's applicable in the US is a lot of people heard about the Title 4D, for example, where the system is encouraged. So the state is going to get more funding if there's more child support. And if there are equal parenting, then there would be no child support. So the state is not incentivized properly. The state is actually incentivized to increase conflict, to increase child support. Therefore, the state get more funding, and that's kind of a problem. This is one example. The other example is, for example, lawyers, right? Lawyers are structured, the incentive for lawyers is structured the wrong way. You know, the lawyers are not incentivized to help your case. The longer you fight, the more the lawyer's going to get money, the more the lawyer's going to get paid. So the system is not building the incentive correctly. So I think that's some of the things that Ricardo is talking that kind of reflect into that. So if we can move into a situation where we have less conflict, less litigation, and try to resolve the best we can outside of the court system, having professionals that are supportive of that instead of supporting litigation, then we can solve a lot of these problems instead of going into court. I think that's a good idea. Is there any other point that anyone else want to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had an automatic default, there would be no reason to go to court to fight. So you would actually prevent child harm and also the harm to parents. I mean, it is the worst form of abuse I can actually imagine, being inflicted on a safe parent. I mean, I myself am a survivor of life-threatening abuse. I married at 17, I was almost dead by 18. But I didn't lose my child, you know. I went to court to get, you know, supervised contact for a paranoid schizophrenic husband, but I didn't lose my child. I would have faced that a million times over than to have lost my child. So I feel incredible anger, actually, for the thousands of parents that we work with who only want to love their children. I'm incredibly angry that their children are denied their love. And I think that if we were to have a default where it was an automatic, then there wouldn't be any need to go to court. And in the interim period, if you have to go to court, in the UK, you pay your £215 for what's a C100 form to get your application to be heard in court. You get your hearing, and basically obsessive alienators will breach it with impunity. We have many where it's been breached on the first child arrangement date. And, you know, a deployment of various aggressive techniques that mean that they have to go back to court again. They'll pay another £215 for the C79 enforcement, as well as all the additional legal costs if they have to get a lawyer or a barrister. So you're talking about thousands of pounds. And in this country, less than 1% of orders are actually enforced. You know, now we have an Attorney General, Suella Braverman, who is a former QC, and she put forward reform amends to our previous Prime Minister. And she said that basically 3 strikes and you lose custody. Yeah, you'd lose residency. So I'm using your American language. We don't call it custody here. So 3 breaches of a court order, because she said court orders are not optional. They're mandatory because they're made in a child's best interests. So 3 breaches of those, residencies transferred. I guarantee you, if we had that in place now, we would clear the courts overnight. Why do they breach? Because they can. It's like, you know, we work with young drivers. Why do young drivers speed? Because they can. Why do people smoke? You know, because they could. You know, we need to absolutely mean that when they get those court orders, they're actually worth the paper they're written on. Otherwise, actually, justice is for sale. It's at the highest bidder. And even then, people can spend hundreds of thousands and still not get to see their children. So that's absolutely critical, you know.
Thank you.
And those who raise false allegations of abuse, absolutely, are then charged, because false allegations wreck lives, wreck reputations, wreck careers, and wreck the relationship that a parent has with their own child. And not only that, it embeds false memories in the mind of that child so that sometimes they can't actually differentiate. That is abuse of the highest order. And it is outrageous that in 2021, we're still even having this conversation.
Totally agree with you. And actually, that was actually the conversation in the very first panel, is the lack of enforcement, this lack of punishment when it comes to false allegation, you know, abuser, and lack of enforcement for the custody order that you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight for. And then it's just that piece of paper that nobody cares about. It's so true. Thank you. Is there anyone else that want to add anything before we go?
No.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you, and it's lovely to hear all these different accents and different perspectives coming from all these different countries. Really grateful for you guys to be here, and thank you for making it here, even though I sent you to the wrong place. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to our further collaboration. It's been amazing, getting to know you and starting to work with you guys, and really, I hope that we all can make a huge difference for the families out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so parents, so that's the end of today's event. I wanted to thank you for sticking it out all this time, and I know you're sick of me, so I'm just gonna go very quickly. I just want to just wrap up with a few notes, though. That one, I'm so grateful for you. So really, for you to be here because you're looking for solutions for your child, for yourself. So you are the hero. You should be very proud of yourself. So thank you for sticking around, for being there. I'm grateful for you for being a part of this journey. I also wanted to point out that, you've noticed that today we hear the same kind of solution brought up again and again and again, right? Awareness, education, enforcement, things like that. Now, even though you only hear a few things, that's a good thing, because that means that we only have a few things that we have to focus on in order to find this solution, which is a good thing, right? So really, we are working so hard to make sure that we take actions. We are not just sitting here discussing this. And I hope that you know that we're working very hard to push on all front possible. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey. If you are not already on our mailing list, please join our mailing list. It's on our website, victimtohero.com, so that you don't miss our future events. And thank you so much for being here. Bye. Happy Parental Alienation Awareness Day.